Hello? Hello? Oh, there we go. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Board of Selectmen Sewer Commissioners meeting for October 16th. I would first take a moment to apologize for the delay in our start this evening. As you know, we have a executive session at 6 p.m. for the purpose of union issues. However, this evening there was another matter that was urgent that needed to be added to that agenda. So I do apologize for the delay. If we moving right along, if we could move right into announcements.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. I have, the first announcement that I have is on behalf of the board, I would like to congratulate our cameraman behind the scenes, Mr. Drinkwater, and his wife Jennifer, who are celebrating their 8th year of marriage today. Congratulations. We wish you many, many more. On October 18th, there is a Cape Verdean community dinner from 6 p.m. to, it doesn't say what time it ends. All proceeds will assist students attending the Wareham High School Cape Verde trip in 2013. Tickets are on sale at all the schools in the superintendent's office. The cost is $8 for adults, $5 for children 12 years old and under. For more information, you can contact Carolyn Vieira. And if you simply want to make a donation, you can make that donation to the school. Money order only, payable to Wareham Public Schools, and you have to label it the Global Education Team to the attention of Henry St. Julian, who's the Social Studies Department Chair. That's all for me. Mr. Teitelbaum?
I just have one announcement. On November 8th at 2 o'clock in this building in room 225, the Affordable Housing Trust will be holding a public hearing to discuss a draft affordable housing plan. This is something that has to be prepared under the law every so often, and it's an opportunity for people to come up, express their opinions about it. There will be a copy available ahead of time in the clerk's office if you'd like to go take a look at it. And I just wanted to let people know that this was going to be noticed soon by publication, but also to use this forum to draw some attention to it as well.
Mr. Slavin?
One simple thing, the Polar Express this year had to be changed because of naming rights. So when you see ads for what is now Frosty's, the train ride, it's the same thing as the Polar Express. Unfortunately, they had to change the name.
Mrs. Begley?
Thank you. Tomorrow, the Board of Health is having a public hearing. It's Wednesday, October 17th at 4 p.m. in the bottom floor of the cafeteria, and the public hearing will be to discuss the proposed regulations of rental properties pursuant to Mass General Law 111, Section 31, in accordance with the state sanitary code. The VFW, Dudley Brown Post 2846, and the Ladies Auxiliary is inviting all veterans and senior citizens to their annual Thanksgiving dinner, and that's Saturday, November 17th from 12 noon to 3 p.m. And there is the Art of Marriage, a 6-session video event. Was going to be held at the schools. It's going to be held at the Church of the Nazarene on Friday evening and Saturday during the day. It's Friday, October 19th, Saturday, October 20th. Cost is $40 per couple. You can register at the door for $40 per couple, and there'll be a lunch provided. That's all.
Mr. Holmes? No. Next up on the agenda, we have citizens' participation.
Young lady, come on up. It's okay. Just like I told you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now get very close, just like I explained. Tell us who you are and why you're here.
Hi, I'm Nicole Nault. And I'm Charlamagne Erasmi. And we're juniors at Wareham Senior High, and having a roof that leaks affects us all negatively. So we started a petition stating I, as a student of Wareham Senior High School, am requesting a new roof for the school gymnasium. We've gotten 416 students to sign it. That's 2/3 of the population at Wareham.
One of the reasons for our petition is a leak can cause mold and mildew, which is a health hazard to all students.
Another reason is that indoor sports are being forced to have away games. This is costing more money to the school for buses.
The next reason is that the leakage can cause damage to the gym floor, which will lead to future repairs.
The final reason is that the school gymnasium is an emergency shelter for the entire town of Wareham. It's unsuitable if the gym roof is leaking. Thank you.
Any questions?
Does anyone have any questions? Mr. Tidewell, Mr. Slavin?
I'd just like to thank you for taking the effort and time to do something like this to come before us. It's greatly appreciated to see some participation by the town. Thank you very
Thank you.
much.
Thank you.
I just want to say good job. Thank you.
Thank you.
See, it wasn't that bad, was it? You did a nice job taking part. That's
Thank
good.
you.
Thank you very much. Now get back home and do your homework. I thought that was really nice. They called and asked to come in and do that, so that's very nice. Anyone else? Ma'am. Good evening.
Good evening, Claire Smith, Town Moderator. As you know, town meeting will commence Monday evening at 7 o'clock. Just given the nice little presentation that you just received, I'm here to also advise you that they have asked permission to speak before town meeting, and I have granted them permission. This leads me to believe that since they have done such a wonderful job, that we will have a very well-attended town meeting, I feel. So I want to respectfully ask those that are planning on coming to do two things. Please check which precinct you're in so that when you come to check in, you know which line you need to go to and stand in to check in. There's nothing more aggravating to wait in line for 10 minutes and then find out you're in the wrong line. Secondly, town meeting will begin promptly at 7. So I would encourage people to come at 6:30. The lines probably will be long to register. Come at 6:30, check in, and then if you want to socialize out in the hallway, that's fine. But it becomes very difficult to start town meeting on time if we have people that are still out in the hall trying to check in. So I really want to encourage people to come early and check in so that we can get started promptly. We have a lot of business to accomplish, and I'd like to get to the business right on time if possible. Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else? Seeing none? Mrs. Winslow.
Mr. Chairman, next we have, can I take that item out of order? And
Well,
make this-
I think we have a quick hearing. Do we have a hearing?
No,
No, just permits.
permits.
Yeah, I guess. That would be fine.
We had a request from the recycling committee to take them out of order as early as we could. So do we have the recycling here to discuss their town meeting article?
I see a hand.
Come on up.
Good evening. Hi. We'll give you the same instructions as the young ladies. So speak directly into that mic and identify yourselves for the record, please.
Okay. My name is Marilyn Russell, and I'm the recycling coordinator for the town of Wareham.
Okay.
My name is Earl Russell. I'm Marilyn's husband, and I act as an advisor to the recycling committee.
Okay.
I'm John Dixon, member of the recycling committee and the treasurer for the recycling committee.
Welcome and thank you for coming.
Welcome.
Okay, if you would just give us a presentation on your article, please.
Okay. We would just like to say a few things about why we have a recycling center in Wareham, and why we need a little extra money just to keep us going through June 30th, fiscal year 2013. It's more than just keeping the center open. it's also keeping my position, and as I've passed out in the past to you, I have certain job duties that I perform. I apply for grants, I interface with DEP, I put in a 3-4 page article in the town report, annual town report every year. I answer questions for people who come in to the center. I keep records and Excel and on all the trash and recycling that is taken in by the town of Wareham. One thing I would like to say, recently, by well, I'm not going to say where they came from, but one of the committees in town said that they thought that the Wareham Recycling Center was redundant, that we didn't really need one because we have Marion and we have Rochester, where people from Wareham can go, can purchase a permit, a sticker, and take their trash and recycling to both of these centers. So we visited the Rochester Convenience Center and the Marion Convenience Center and asked them what they do take and how are they different than the Wareham Recycling Center. Well, for one thing, they don't take paint. Now, paint can be old paint hanging around, especially latex paint. We are the only facility that takes paint for a small purchase price. And we get it disposed of in the proper way through a grant that I did get with DEP because we didn't have the money to do it, on our budget. That is one thing. Neither Rochester nor Marion will take paint. Yes, we do have a hazardous waste day that's run by Carver Marion Wareham Collaborative, but that is not, they don't take latex paint. It's just for oils and stains and other hazardous items. Another thing which we feel is pretty important is that we offer, and we have been for years, we offer community service to kids and adults who want to make back and pay back to the town for things that they've done wrong. And it seems like we always have somebody coming. As a matter of fact, they call the YMCA, and the YMCA sends them over to us. And there was another thing that I can't think of now that we offer and they don't. We also take tires, and for a small fee. And Marion and Rochester do not take them.
In fact, they recommend them to us.
Right. And people come in and say, what am I going to do with my old tires? And they say, bring them to Wareham Recycling Center.
Okay, so there's the background, and to get to the article now, your article.
Okay.
All right.
Do you want to talk
Please.
to the article?
Yes,
May
ma'am.
Yeah, Jack.
On Jack?
Jack?
Yes, the article, we're asking for additional $3,000 a year to help us afford to stay in business and maintain a recycling coordinator for the town. Like the selectmen, the the recycling committee is all volunteers, and we have a...
And we all know it costs money to volunteer.
We are all volunteers, right. And but you have a town manager to take care of your daily duties and meetings and so forth, in contact with the state and business and otherwise. And the town pays for that. We had a recycling coordinator for a number of years that the town paid for, and then about 6 or 7 years ago, the town, in the crunch, eliminated the recycling coordinator. And so the volunteer committee decided we had enough in our budget to handle it for a little while, and we contracted directly to maintain the recycling coordinator. And then we asked the town for a minimum amount. We got $2,500, And over the years, we've asked for more to help us because our budget, our income from the tires and so forth, and bottle returns that people donate to us are not covering the expense of the recycling coordinator. So we're simply asking for funds from the town to help us pay for the recycling coordinator to maintain the duties that she has explained to you, same as you have the town pay somebody to take care of the duties that you are responsible for. And of course, we're not paying six-figure salary to the recycling coordinator. So the comparison still holds pretty true.
Thank God, that would be tough to fund, wouldn't it? Is there anything else? Any questions from the board in regards to
We covered paint, we covered the things we take that they don't. Paint was a big one, tires are another one, lead acid batteries we take, they don't take. Just a few things that we take that they don't. They do handle fluorescents, which we do. We handle all mercury items. I guess that's about it as far as what we take. We handle, the coordinators had the responsibility for maintaining the drop-off center for several years since I've been involved. We handle 100 to 200 people on a weekly basis. That's cars, automobiles. Sometimes there's more than one in there. Sometimes 3 or 4, or a bunch of kids too. We handle approximately 160,000 pounds of material on an annual basis. And that's all sorted, recyclable material disposed of in the correct way. And if anyone goes to Rochester and Marion and looks at those, you can't tell me that it's being handled that way. People come into our center and say, we bring it here because we know what's being recycled. Okay? Another thing about it, we might be redundant in some people's mind, but we're the only place in Wareham. To me, as a Wareham resident, a new Wareham resident, it's nice to say we have a recycling center of our own. We don't go to Marion. We don't go to Rochester.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Anything from the board? Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate
Thank
the time.
you.
As you know,
Thank
that
you.
these
Good
articles
job.
will be presented on the board. Will take a vote, if you will, but the
Oh.
town meeting members will make the decision.
Many
on
of
these
the
things.
people who contract to have a out-of-town hauler take care of their trash, the haulers do not recycle anywhere near what we recycle or what the waste stations handle.
Okay. Very good. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for moving this up.
Thank you for having us come in early.
Okay.
Okay.
Mrs. Winslow?
Yes, thank you. Back to the consent agenda, we have a bill from Blattman, Brabowski, and Mead LLC. I move to approve invoice number 8142 dated September 20th, 2012 in the amount of
I have a
$15,134.86.
motion made.
Second.
Second by Mr. Titlebaum. Anything on the question? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Abstained? 500.
We have the presidential election warrant, and we also have the email to make sure that this gets signed.
This evening, please, I printed that email out so that the town clerk can have that done. As a matter of fact, maybe when you're done, you could just pass it.
I will.
Get it done right away. Thank you.
Do I have to read the whole? I don't remember. Do I read the whole thing?
Oh, these are appointments, yeah.
No, the actual warrant.
Well, you got the poll workers. Oh, they're on
Yeah.
C.
Yeah.
I think you should probably at least read the questions, if not the summaries.
Okay.
Yeah, I think you should go through it.
I
Make sure
move
that's
to
right,
approve
yeah, right.
the presidential election warrant as follows. Greetings. In the name of the Commonwealth, you are required to notify and warn inhabitants of said town who are qualified to vote in the state election to vote at Precinct 1, Memorial Town Hall, Marion Road, Precinct 2, Hammond School, 13 Highland Ave, Precinct 3, Minot Forest School, 63 Minot Ave, Precinct 4, Deacon's School, 760 Main Street, Precinct 5, Deacon's School, 760 Main Street, Precinct 6, Lodge of Elks, 2859 Cranberry Highway. on Tuesday, the 6th day of November, 2012, from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. for the following purpose: to cast their votes in the state election for the candidates of political parties for the following offices and questions: electors of President and Vice President, Senator in Congress, Representative in Congress, Counselor, 1st District, Senator in General Court, 1st Plymouth, Bristol District, Representative in General Court, 2nd Plymouth District, Clerk of Courts, Plymouth County, Register of Deeds, Plymouth County, County Commissioners, Plymouth County, Regional School Committee, District. Question 1. I'm just going to read the questions. I'm not going to read the summaries. Law proposed by initiative petition. Do you approve of a law summarized below on which no vote was taken by the Senate or the House of Representatives on or before May 1st, 2012? The proposed law would prohibit any motor vehicle manufacturer starting with model year 2015 from selling or leasing, either directly or through a dealer, a new motor vehicle without allowing the owner to have access to the same diagnostic and repair information made available to the manufacturer's dealers and in-state authorized repair facilities. A yes vote would enact the proposed law, and a no vote would make no existing change. Question 2, law proposed by initiative petition. Do you approve of a law summarized below on which no vote was taken by the Senate or the House of Representatives on or before May 1st, 2012? The proposed law would allow a physician licensed in Massachusetts to prescribe medication at a terminally ill patient's request to end that patient's life. A yes vote would enact the proposed law. A no vote would make no change. Question 3, law proposed by initiative petition. Do you approve of a law summarized below on which no vote was taken by the Senate or the House of Representatives on or before May 1st, 2012? The proposed law would eliminate state criminal and civil penalties for the medical use of marijuana by qualifying patients. A yes vote would enact the proposed law. A no vote would make no change. Given under our hand this 16th day of October 2012, Stephen M. Holmes, Chairman, Kara Ann Winslow, Clerk, Ellen M. Begley, Peter W. Teitelbaum, and Alan H. Slavin, the Board of Selectmen in the town of Wareham. So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded by myself out of necessity. Oh, you did? I'm sorry, Peter. I didn't hear you. Mr. Teitelbaum? Anything else on the question? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Abstain? 500. And if you wouldn't mind, yes,
I'm
thank you.
passing it down.
Next
Next, we
up.
have the appointments and/or interviews of election and poll workers. I move to approve the emergency appointments of the following election poll workers listed below. Each term shall expire on June 30th, 2013. Catherine Anderson, Marie F. Barry, Elsie Mae Ganetto, Laura Lopes, Charlotte Short, Brenda Sylvia, and Bernice Viega. So moved.
Motion made and seconded by Mrs. Begley. Anything on the question? All in favor? All opposed? Abstained? 500.
We also have interview and or appointment to the Board of Road Commissioners. I believe we have one applicant, Mr. McGonnell.
Good evening, Mr. McGonnell. How are you?
Very well. Good evening.
If you wouldn't mind stating your name, speak right into that mic, state your name for the record, and explain to the board and to the citizens why you're interested in serving on the road commissioners.
Yes, sir. My name is John A. McGonnell, McGonnell. I have an interest in serving on the board. I have a background in public safety. I'm a retired police sergeant, and I feel my training and experience could possibly benefit the board and the town in general.
All right, questions? Mr. Teitelbaum.
No questions. Thank you for your interest.
Mr. Slavin.
The board tends to meet sometimes during the days. Will that be a problem for you?
Not a problem for me, no.
Thank you, sir.
Mrs. Winslow.
I believe that he had the new form, yes? No. You're a U.S. citizen, right?
I am.
Thank you. No other questions.
Mrs.
They keep giving out the old forms.
I don't know where these forms are coming from. We had some new ones come through. Mrs. Begley.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. It's great that you're interested in this because this is something that's certainly right up your alley. My only question is this. You're a full-time resident and are you a registered voter?
Yes, I am.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, I move to appoint Mr. McGonnell to the Board of Road Commissioners for a term to expire no later than June 30th, 2014, seeing as we have one vacancy and no other applicants.
I have a motion made by Mrs. Winslow, second by Mr. Slavin. Anything else on the question? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Abstain? 500. Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
You'll need to go by the clerk's office and get sworn in, right? And then contact Mr. Charbonneau,
Will do.
the chairman, and then he can fill you in on when the meeting is. Right?
Very well.
Okay. Thanks again. Thank you very much for your service.
Very well.
You can contact Mr. Charbonneau and he'll hook you up. All right.
Next, we have an interview to the Conservation Commission. We have Mr. Tucci. I thought I saw him earlier. Mr. Chair, can we put him off?
Maybe he's out in the hall. He was here. Next
Mr.
up,
Slavin?
we could just move to the next.
I think he decided that he was going to possibly pull his application.
Oh, okay.
He mentioned something before the meeting started.
Okay.
Oh, I thought he said he had to go to a wake or something.
Oh, maybe the office
I thought
could
maybe
be in.
he's still out there. Okay, well,
can
let's
double
just
check
skip
something.
over that for now, and we can move on
Yep.
to the next one.
We also have Marine Resources Commission. These are the election poll workers. You have to sign those. We have an application from, actually we have a couple. Donald Jepson.
Mr. Jepson, good evening. You're going to have to speak right directly into that, so you got to get close to it.
Okay.
Okay, if you'd tell us who you are and what your interest is in the marine
Okay.
resource.
My name is Donald Jepson. I live on Long Beach Road in Wareham. Just since 1997, I've been a part-time resident and just moved here full-time in August. Consider one of the best resources that the town has is the amount of waterways that we have, and the fact that you've got a great harbor and shell fishing and marine recreation is one of the great attributes that draw to the town.
Questions, Mr. Teitelbaum?
Just in briefly glancing at your application, I see that you were a former member of the Hanson Conservation Commission, so you have at least some service in the past on a municipal board?
Right. It was quite a few years ago, but...
Yep. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay.
Mr. Slavin? Mrs. Winslow?
There are two open terms. Were you applying for any particular one, for the one that expires in 2013 or the one that expires in 2014?
I just applied in general. I wasn't aware that there was two openings or what their time terms were.
So if I flip a coin,
Okay.
no harm, no foul?
No.
Okay.
Mrs. Begley?
Hi, Mr. Jepson. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Very well, thank you. So you're a recent full-time resident. Are you a registered voter in the town of Wareham?
Yes, I am.
Awesome. Thank you very much. And this is a new form. That's why Mrs. Winslow didn't ask you that question.
No, we always believe in casting a vote because I always tell people...
Yeah, I noticed. I check. You would have got the question if it wasn't there.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Jepson. I think that's it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
We also have an application from Warren Hall Jr. It's Mr. Hall.
Holly here? Come on up. If you would just, and then introduce yourself. You got to speak real close to it and introduce yourself and explain your interest in the Marine Resource Commission.
Hi,
please.
my name is Warren Hall. I live at 90 Shore Avenue, and I've been a full-time resident since 2005. And been a boater in Wareham since the 1960s, actually. We've been coming down here. I have quite a bit of experience out in the local harbors, Wareham and Onset. I'd like to try this out. I've been to, I've sat in on the meetings since the springtime. So I've been to several meetings, and it's very interesting.
Okay. Mr. Titlebaum?
I don't have any questions, but thank you for your interest.
Mr. Slavin?
Good evening, Warren. Warren's an old friend, so I'm going to pass.
Thank you, Alan.
You're welcome.
Mrs. Winslow?
Just the same question. Did you, when you applied, did you have a preference for the term that expired?
No, I wasn't aware there was two.
Okay.
Another new
It
form.
doesn't matter. Flip a coin, that's fine.
Another new form noted. Mrs. Begley?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Hall, are you a registered voter in the town of Wareham?
Yes, I am.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
For your
Thank
interest,
you.
and thank you for your service.
Mr. Chair, there are 2 vacancies open. As I mentioned, I'm going to address Mr. Jepson's application first. Heads will be 2013 and tails will be 2014. We have heads. I'm just trying to be fair.
Well, they did say flip a coin. So.
I mentioned it. I move to appoint Mr. Donald Jepson to the Marine Resources Commission to a term to expire no later than June 30th, 2013.
Second.
Motion made and seconded by Mr. Titlebaum. Anything else on the question? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Abstained? 5-0-0.
Congratulations. Thank you. You can always get reappointed. I move to appoint Mr. Warren Hall Jr. To the Marine Resources Commission to a term to expire no later than June 30th, 2014.
I have a motion made.
Second.
Second by Mr. Titlebaum. Anything else on the question? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Abstained? 5-0-0.
One abstain.
One abstain, Steve.
401.
Oh, I didn't hear you. Thank you. 401, Mr. Slavin.
Congratulations, gentlemen. My daughter always makes me carry her lucky penny. See, it comes in handy. Okay, next up we have the Plymouth County Aquifer Committee. We have a delegate and an alternate position open, a 1 voting delegate and 1 non-voting alternate per a letter dated July 30th, 2012 to the Board of Selectmen from the Plymouth County Aquifer Chair Sarah Hewins. We have applications from Mr. Tucci, who's not here, Mr. Brady. I don't see him here. Mr. Martin.
I did get an email from Mr. Martin.
Okay.
Saying that he had another commitment this evening and couldn't be here.
Okay. Can we reschedule these since nobody was available?
Well, I did want to ask a question while we're here on to Mr. Sullivan. I believe that when we initially voted to take part in the advisory committee, that the full-time, or the not full-time, what do you call it, a voting delegate was going to be one of the department heads if they so volunteered, either conservation or one of those, as I recall. Am I mistaken?
No, you're correct. I'd sent out a blanket email requesting, because I believe one of it was somebody that actually has a passion for it on there. Nobody's been passionate.
Nobody answered yet?
No passion.
Well, as we had, as I think Mrs. Begley had suggested that night that you might not get a volunteer. I can't recall if we actually motioned that. If we took a motion on that, then that position is bound by that vote to be someone who works for you.
Well, can we look into that? And I don't feel comfortable appointing anybody without them here to ask them questions, so.
All right. And I did also I received actually an email, although Mr. Tucci was here, I received an email from Mr. Brady as well saying that he couldn't make it this evening. But I
Okay.
think we need to clear that up first to make sure that because I think what we're appointing is an alternate,
Okay,
I believe.
okay.
Unless there's no participation, then I think we need to change that motion.
If there was a motion, yeah.
Sorry?
If there was a motion, we have to check and see how we left it.
And maybe I can put this back on for Monday. All right?
Okay. We also have, we're going to have to do an interview because we didn't get the listing, although I'm sure there's a vacancy on the Commission on Disability with Kenneth Barrows. Mr. Barrows?
Good evening, Mr. Barrows. If you could, you have to talk very close to the mic.
Yeah, I will.
If you could identify yourself and your interest in serving on the commission on disability.
Yeah, I'm Ken Barrows. I'm in Precinct 5. I'm an American with disabilities. I sustained a traumatic brain injury approximately 10 years ago. And being in the position that I am in now, I would respectfully request to participate on the commission.
Okay.
If you look at some of my credentials, I think they speak for themselves. I am underneath a doctor's control and care at this present time. And my staff that I am surrounded by think this is a wonderful position that I can contribute.
And I see that Mr. Pasella,
That's
is that
correct.
How you say that?
That's correct.
Has wrote you from Pasella Brothers, has wrote you a raving letter of recommendation. Congratulations on that.
And if you would you please read that into the record?
I will do that if you'd like. It says here, from Pasella Brothers, Inc., to whom it may concern. Mr. Kenneth Barrows of Wareham, Massachusetts, was employed by Pasella Brothers for 8 years. He worked as a laborer, truck driver, and equipment operator. In his industriousness, his reliability, and his expertise in the construction field quickly upgraded him to a supervisor capacity. He worked in a supervisory position on projects which range from $2 to $10 million. Kenneth is a competent, proficient, knowledgeable person with the capabilities for excellent work, and we wish him success in his endeavor to establish his own construction business. Very truly yours, Michael Pasella. Is that correct?
That's correct.
President of Pasella Brothers. That's a very nice letter.
Thank you.
Questions, Mr. Teitelbaum?
Given your own experience with disability, I think this would be a natural fit for you.
Thank you.
Mr. Slavin?
No questions for Ken.
Thank you, sir.
Mrs. Winslow?
I think it's a great fit, too. We did not get the appointment sheet with the expiration of the term, so we'll have to make the actual appointment on Monday.
Okay.
Okay?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Mrs. Begley?
I'm so glad that you volunteered for something like this, Mr. Barrows. Generally, when the commission meets, it's midday, and Mr. Newman has been current chair. So would that be a problem for you?
No, ma'am, I am totally disabled.
Mm-hmm. So you're totally available then?
I am available, yes, ma'am,
Thank you very much.
providing my physical capabilities.
Yes, I understand.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Barrows.
So, Mr. Chairman, could we ask the office to send us down the sheet with the expiration date so we can take in a formal vote on Monday?
Duly noted.
The office will be in touch with you to have you sworn in.
Thank you very much. I
Thank
appreciate
you.
it. Godspeed.
Thank you, Mr. Barrows. Godspeed to you as well.
Next, we have the Wareham Cultural Council. We have Ellen Yuji.
And again, you've heard me tell the others, if you could get right up close to that mic, introduce yourself and explain your interest to the board and citizens, why you want to serve on this committee.
My name is Ellen Yuji. I am a registered voter, and I'm interested in this particular committee because I've always had a passion for the arts. I've been involved as an amateur in music all my life, but I'm interested in all of the arts.
And I see that you are a U.S. citizen in another new form. You can let Mrs. Winslow know that, see? So there are more new forms than old forms coming across, which is good.
They're not wasting the old
Which is
forms.
good.
I appreciate that.
I
but
downloaded that one.
As a recycling person, you should appreciate that.
I do.
Mr. Teitelbaum, any questions?
Yes, I was just looking at this. It says retired foreign language teacher. What languages did you teach?
French and Russian, and then Spanish.
I thought you would answer that question in a foreign language.
Thank you.
Mr. Slavin. Mrs. Winslow.
I don't have any questions. I agree with you that the Cultural Council is very important. Being the parent of a very musically dance, artistic child, the more culture we can bring to the community, the better.
Mrs. Begley.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm kind of at a loss because I went online to see minutes or when they met, and I couldn't find any information on the town website.
They don't have a quorum.
But there wasn't even a mission statement.
That I can't explain, but
how did this catch your attention?
I was at a concert where there was another lady. I was chatting with another lady who has served on this council for her full 6 years.
Mm-hmm.
And she told me there was a vacancy. Would I be interested? Just because we were at the same concert. That's how I found out about it. Plus, it's listed under the vacancies in town.
Yes, I understand. But my question, is that person planning on resigning? Is that what
No, she's served her full 6 years.
There's a limit to the number of.
I understand, but if they can't meet because there isn't a quorum, if that person leaves and Ms. Uji starts, they still wouldn't have a quorum. Is that correct?
I believe they need 2 more members to get a quorum.
So then we need to make a pitch for more people to volunteer for the Wareham Cultural Council, and I know that there's a number of people in town that have tried to get various venues started on their own, but this would be a perfect forum for them, so I'm kind of putting a plea out there to them if they're listening to step up and volunteer for something like this so that there can be a quorum and we can get this moving forward.
I believe that there was another application that we saw a while back that we didn't vote on. Maybe we could dig that one up and get it voted on. You probably were talking to my daughter's piano teacher, who's a huge advocate, Miss Marilyn. Yes.
Yes.
for the Cultural Council. So if we could, I believe we appoint.
This is the second application we have.
Right, but we didn't vote on the last one, so maybe if we can bring that.
They weren't able to attend that night, so I'll ask Janet
see if we can get them on the agenda, because once we appoint these
I'll
two,
ask her to resend it. Yeah.
then you'll have the quorum again.
Yep.
Okay,
That
would be good.
Are there
Did
any
you
other
get a
questions?
sheet so we can't?
I did. I have a sheet.
Okay.
I have the sheet in the. So I move to appoint.
Okay, hang on a second. And thank you very much for your interest, and you're free to get up. You don't have to sit there for this part. You're all set. Thank you very much.
I move to appoint Ellen Yuji to the Wareham Cultural Council to a term to expire no later than June 30th, 2015.
Motion made by Mrs. Winslow.
Second.
Second by Mr. Teitelbaum. Anything else on the question? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Abstained? 500.
Okay. Next up, we have which one? 7:15? Oh, it doesn't say that on the agenda. I think we got to do the public hearing first. We're almost an hour late.
What public hearing?
Zen. I know the agenda doesn't say it. It says it in the actual legal ad.
Because I asked that about half an hour ago.
I said no because it
Right.
didn't say it on the agenda.
All right, let's do
All
that
right,
now.
that won't take long.
Apologize.
I apologize. That was my error. We have Wasabi Steakhouse doing business as Zen Palace for transfer or issuance of stock, new officers, directors, and change of manager. This is a okay. This is a public hearing, so I move to open the hearing.
Motion to open public hearing. Second by Mrs. Begley. Question? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Abstained? 500. Public hearing is now open. Oh, yeah, here's right here.
Yeah. Well, that's a good place for it. So this is a public hearing. You can.
Would you
Good
tell
eve-
us what's happening? Introduce yourself.
Absolutely.
Right.
Chris Coleman on behalf of the applicant. And I have with me here, excuse me, Sesi Fetsanghorn. He is going to be the proposed manager with me here. This is at Wareham Crossing. You may be familiar with Zen Palace. The corporate name's actually Wasabi Steakhouse, Inc. Nice place. What they're proposing are three things, is a change of officers, a transfer of stock, and also a change of manager. We can take, we'll just start, I guess, with the change of officers, if that's okay. Currently, the president, treasurer, clerk, and director is Guang Shi, and one of the other directors is Cheng Chan. They are both going to be removed, and Sesi will be the president, treasurer, clerk, and director, and Rong Chen will be the other director. As far as the transfer of stock, there's 10,000 shares outstanding right now. 7,500 shares are held by Guang Shi. 2,500 shares are held by Cheng Chan. Those are both going to be transferred. All 10,000 will be transferred to the two buyers, who are also going to be Sesi as well as Rong Chen. And they will be 75% for Sesi, 25% for Rong. And most importantly, the change of manager. As I said, Sesi will be the proposed manager. He's got excellent restaurant experience from 2008 to 2010. He's been the assistant manager at New Tokyo Steakhouse in Methuen, full alcohol license, hibachi grills, couple hundred seats. And from 2011 to current, he's the assistant manager at the Saki Steakhouse in Mansfield. Same operation, all alcohol, and a couple hundred seats there. He is a U.S. citizen. He is TIPS trained, and he plans on spending 40 hours plus there. We have talked about the importance many times, as well as the other restaurants he's been at, of the importance of alcohol training for all the staff members. So whether it be them going off-site or we have somebody coming in to provide the training, we'll do that one way or the other.
Okay.
If you have any questions, we'd be happy to answer.
Okay, since this is a public hearing, is there anyone here that would like to speak, either in favor or opposed to the new management transfer of stock? Seeing none, Mr. Titlebaum?
Mr. Chair, may I close the public hearing before the board deliberates?
Sure.
I move to close the public portion of the hearing for Wasabi Steakhouse doing business as Zen.
Motion made and seconded. A question, all in favor? All
Aye.
opposed, abstained, 500. The public hearing is now closed. Mr. Titlebaum, if anything. Mr. Slavin.
No questions.
Very quickly, this is going to be the only restaurant, or as you mentioned, Wasabi in another location?
Excuse me one more time?
The ownership is just for this one restaurant change?
That's correct.
So the other restaurant you mentioned that was also Wasabi stays as a separate entity?
That's correct. He doesn't have any ownership interest in that. This is the only one.
Thank you.
Mrs. Winslow?
Mr. Chairman, the only thing missing from the file is we do need a copy of your TIPS training.
I thought I just saw that somebody tucked in here.
I didn't see it. So while we could take a vote tonight, it's not going to be effective until you provide a copy of that to the office for the file.
We'll get that to you, certainly.
Okay.
Tomorrow.
Good. That'd be great.
Mrs. Begley? Mrs. Winslow?
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the application from Wasabi Steakhouse, Inc., doing business as Zen Palace, for the transfer of stock, new officer, director, and change of manager of an existing annual common victular all alcoholic beverages license under the provisions of Chapter 138 of the Massachusetts General Laws, upon receipt of a copy of the TIPS training.
I have a motion made. Second by Mr. Slayman. Anything else on the question? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Abstain? 500. Congratulations and good luck to you, sir.
Thanks, everybody.
Good luck. Thank you.
And please make sure that we get that.
Oh, yeah, we'll get that.
I thought I
We'll-
saw it here, but
I thought so too.
I don't see
It's
it.
not my file either. So
We'll sign the documents, and as soon as you turn that in, you can pick them up.
we'll get it to you. Thank you.
Thank
very
you.
much.
Good luck. We were going to take the discussion of town meeting article regarding tax increment financing.
Yeah, please do. We have corporate officers here that have flown in for this meeting, and they asked that we could take it up early in the agenda, and I told them that would be fine. Mr. Darcy, Mr. Foley?
Yet so far.
Good evening, gentlemen. Mr. Pina?
Good evening.
If you wouldn't mind to introduce yourselves, tell us who you are, and then we're looking for you to discuss the
My name's Ken
the warrant
Darcy. I'm
article.
the Human Resource Manager for the T. Marzetti Company here in Wareham.
Welcome, sir.
Thank you.
Hey, I'm Bob Foley. I'm with Ernst & Young. I'm a tax consultant for T. Marzetti.
Thanks. Welcome. Sir, who are you?
I'm Salvador Pina, the Director of CETA.
Thank you, Mr. Pina.
So
Yeah.
we just
For
wanna-
discussion on the article, if you could discuss
Yeah,
what the
sure,
article.
Absolutely. We just want to, once again, thank you for having us before the board. We were here back in August, and we've obviously received a great reception first from Sal and the Community and Economic Development Agency. And the reason we're here before you tonight is obviously to discuss.
You got to speak right
in there. I'm sorry. I apologize.
Please.
Just again, to reiterate, just wanted to thank you again for having us before the board again, Chairman Holmes, other members of the board, and we're here to discuss obviously the warrant article for the tax increment finance agreement. And we've received a very warm reception from the town of Wareham, and Team Marzetti is very much looking forward to expanding its operations here in town, hopefully adding an additional 25 new jobs, which would be actually 35 net new to Wareham. It would be 25 new positions, a transfer of 10 positions from an existing location outside of Wareham. Also involves roughly 8 to 9.5 million in improvements, split between building improvements as well as machinery and equipment. We've calculated that over the term of the proposed 20-year TIF agreement, in conjunction with the town, that it would likely raise about an additional $5,000 a year in real property taxes, and we've proposed a 50-50 split, a partnership, if you will, on that. And what this essentially allows T. Marzetti to do is move forward on applying for some state investment tax credits, which would greatly help to reduce the expansion costs associated with this. And just wanted to note that before you in August was the plant manager, Cliff Tapke. Unfortunately, at a last-minute scheduling conflict, he couldn't be here tonight, but he extends his regrets. But we do have Ken Darcy from Chatham Village / T. Marzetti. He's the Human Resources Manager, and we're happy to answer any questions you might have regarding this warrant article.
Mr. Teitelbaum.
No questions. I recall your rather comprehensive presentation on this issue. I do have a question for Mr. Pina, though. Have we arrived at a number in terms of what the TIF would represent
Mhm.
in,
Yeah.
in terms of the property tax.
Yeah, I spoke actually with the acting town administrator, Derek, today, who had received information from the town assessor. That number is about $5,000 in terms of an increase in the valuation over the current property. So that would be about what they're proposing is to split that with the town, so that's about $2,500 per year over a 20-year period. So with inflation, I think an inflation factor of 1.5, it roughs out to about $60,000.
Okay, so then this is additional revenue we would be receiving as a result of
That's
the town
correct.
entering into this agreement with Team Marzetti and the expansion going forward then.
That's correct. It'd be about $60,000 over a 20-year period.
Thank you.
Mr. Slade.
Do we have a figure yet from anyone here as far as the number of increase in employment?
We do. It would be, to the town of Wareham, it would be net new 35 positions. To the actual facility itself, to the operations, it would be 25 new positions. It would be a retention of 140. So overall, you're looking at an employment impact of 175. But there is, they currently have a facility in New Bedford, Hope's Island, where they transfer some of these. They're essentially busting at the seams.
Mhm.
And in order to manufacture the croutons as well as package and process them, they're looking to lease some space elsewhere on Kendrick Road. That would require that they would essentially close the facility in New Bedford, and therefore those 10 positions would come over here. They wouldn't be net new to the operations, but overall, Wareham would see an increase of 35 new heads at the location.
Thank you.
Mrs. Winslow.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I apologize I missed your presentation the last time, but I did watch it on TV, and I actually have a number of questions for you. How many of the employees are Wareham residents?
About 6%.
6%? And what's the average wage of the employees?
Approximately about $11.50.
You provide full benefits to these employees?
Yes, we do.
So 6% of 100, and it's be 175 workers?
No, it's currently at about 6%. So when we go up, we are actively trying to hire in the town. We've had job fairs here.
Typically, under a TIF agreement, there is some sort of number that we want to reach for the residents of the community.
Yeah, included within the language of the TIF agreement, there would be, preferences as is standard for the preferences, considering all things being equal, that they would pursue Wareham residents, and we're happy to include that for the new positions.
One of the things that we've discussed is entering into an agreement, a jobs agreement, whereby we would use the local career center here that's located in this building to do the recruitments on behalf of the company for the 25 new positions. So hopefully the positions would be drawn from the Wareham area based on those recruitments.
And my final question is, there were a lot of numbers thrown around about, if we can't do this and we move the operation to Ohio and it's going to cost this much and that much. Did you actually calculate out the cost of closing that facility and your compliance with the WARN Act and unemployment costs and things of that nature?
Well, they never actually filed a warrant, obviously. They're
No, I understand that, but there's costs associated with that when you have this number
Yes,
of...
I mean, they took a look at the two alternatives. Plan A, quite frankly, was they wanted to remain here and grow, and they think that, the pursuit of the tax incentives, both primarily at the state level, was material to that decision to allowing them to stay and expand. So.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Mrs. Begley. Thank you. Anything else? Gentlemen, would you like to add anything else? Thank you very much for your time. We will see you again on Monday.
Fantastic.
Now, did you get any and all handouts out to the moderator? I see her looking at me. I just want to make sure. Is there anything you're handing out? Sal, you got that?
Yeah,
for Monday?
in terms of the presentation for Monday. I talked with Bob about that earlier today.
Okay, because she needs either the slide deck, right? She's shaking her head yes. She sent me an email on this, so I've been duly instructed to make sure that she has the slide deck or any papers that you need to hand out. Make sure she needs it pretty quick.
Yep.
She's supposed to have the papers 7 days before town meeting, so that's like tomorrow.
Okay.
If you include Saturday and Sunday.
No problem.
Which you're not supposed to, I don't think. Thank you very much, gentlemen.
All right, thank you.
I appreciate it, and good luck to you.
Thank you.
Good luck to
very much.
Wareham. Mrs. Winslow?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. We now have the long-awaited request for use of town roads by the Wareham Veterans Council, care of William R.C. White. The parade starts at Bessie Park and Merchants Way down Main Street and left up Chapel Hill to Marion Road to Viking Drive and ends at the Town Hall on Monday, November 12th, 2012. And at the same time, we're going to have a discussion about the parade. I believe that the plans have been updated. Because Mr. White called me today to tell me about that.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen.
First matters first, the permit. If we could approve the permit, please.
Yes. Mr. Chair, I move to approve the permit for the use of town roads made by the Wareham Veterans Council, care of William R.C. White, for the use of the town roads for the 53rd annual Wareham Veterans Day Parade. The parade starts at Bessie Park, moves down Merchant Way, down Main Street, and left up Chapel Hill to Marion Road to Viking Drive, and ends at the Town Hall on Monday, November 12th at 10:30 a.m. It is understood and agreed that the town will be held harmless from all liability as to damage to property or injuries to any person.
I have a motion made.
Second.
Second. Anything else on the question? All in favor? All opposed? Abstain? 5-0-0. Okay. Now C.
Yes, I said in conjunction we were going to have a discussion. So I will turn the mic over to Mr.
Thank you
White.
very much. I'll take this one. With me tonight is Sharon Boyer, who is the co-coordinator with me for this town event. In between us is the gentleman who's been selected by the Wareham Veterans Council to act as the Grand Marshal for the 2012 parade, Mr. Vernon Ingram.
Congratulations.
Mr. Ingram is a World War II veteran and is representing the Army this year.
Well, at the risk of being redundant, I am Vernon Ingram, and I have been asked to be the Grand Marshal, and I'm honored to serve in that capacity. We're putting together a good parade. I know Bob White has worked very hard on it, and we hope that there'll be a good turnout, and we hope we'll pray for a good day so that we won't get soaking wet. I expect to be riding in a World War II vintage Jeep.
Is Mr. White going to pull that off for you? He is, isn't he?
Yeah.
Good. That'd be outstanding.
Well, thank you.
I do have to correct one impression here. I'm not going to pull that off. This is the first Grand Marshal who has arrived with his own transportation. He suggested it, and he's pulled it off.
Wow. Outstanding. Okay.
In any case, the parade will start at promptly at 10:30 from the lower end of Main Street. We expect to put vehicles from the fire department or 379th Engineer Company along the street that heads from Bessie Park to the south or the east. And units that are primarily marching units, maybe with a vehicle, they'll be on Merchants Way. Sharon is going to organize Merchants Way, and I'll turn that over to her.
Hi. Yes, I'm Sharon Boyer, and Merchants Way is primarily where the marches will be. Most of the youth groups and the organizations that participated last year was set up at that location so that we could merge the two from the units once they come to the intersection for the beginning of the parade. We're asking everyone to please be there at 10 o'clock to actually get you signed up and registered and sent off in your direction. That's pretty much it for this time. We have quite a few
You want to talk
groups.
about the sign intent?
Yes, the sign intent is actually at that location at Merchants Way. We're asking that everyone please be there by 10 so that we will have guides to send you either to Bessie Park or to Merchants Way, and that's where you'll begin for your parade, which will begin at 10:30 promptly.
The band this year will consist of the Wareham High School Band. The other music in the parade will be artificial music provided by a couple of pickup trucks.
Did you get a hold of Frank Noonan?
I have not got a hold of Frank Noonan. I know.
Oh, by the way, happy birthday, Sue! If you're watching this, you should be out enjoying a nice dinner.
I haven't gotten
Frank they have all the students, their students that may want to participate as well. They just moved up behind. Onset Music.
Yeah.
They're in the crossing, or are they behind Mr. Christie?
No, they're in the crossing.
Yeah, it's right up behind Mr. Chris.
All right.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
Across from the police station. So if you go by and see him, he may be able to help you out with some music.
Oh, okay.
He tried to help us out last year with the 215th Army Band, and it seemed like they were going to cost us a bit much money.
Well, no, I mean, I'm talking about Frank
Right,
and
we're
his
talking
and
about
their
students now.
students at the academy. Yeah, they might be able to help.
I want to indicate that John Wagner will continue as the MC for the ceremony. We've located Mr. Mike Collins, who's a teacher in the high school, who's going to act somewhat as a coordinator for the units that come from the high school, including the junior ROTC. We are heavily involved in soliciting food from restaurants and individuals to provide luncheon on at noontime on the 12th for veterans and participants in the parade. So if anyone wants to spend a few minutes at the stove, we'd appreciate them doing that. We will accept donations of food at the back door of the multi-service center at about 7:30 in the morning and going forward, because some people may have to go to work that day and they might want to drop something off. We are going to provide some kind of musical entertainment for the luncheon as well. And this year, as last year, Teenage Massachusetts will be here and sing the national anthem and provide entertainment at the luncheon. So we're pretty happy about that. If anyone's got some...
Last year we had the young man inside too,
Yeah.
Mr.
Teddy Matthews.
Mr. Matthews. He's a big star now from Wareham.
Couldn't afford it.
On the U.S. circuit, yes.
Sharon, did you have anything
Very
else?
proud moment for Wareham to see Mr. Matthews doing so well.
Indeed. Do you have anything else you want to add, Sharon?
Oh, yes, we're still looking for a lot of volunteers, so if you can donate an hour that day or more, we really need your help. So we're really looking to increase that volunteer list.
Thank you, and we'll be back.
You can't see it because you're looking this way, but everybody in this room right now has got their hand up.
Have they?
Yes.
They
I
do.
see that.
Just feed me the names.
Yeah, and we've taken a snapshot of that, and we'll use some facial recognition and find out who you all are.
We'll be reviewing.
All these people here had their hand up.
We'll
So
be reviewing the tapes on tomorrow morning.
People at home right now are sitting there like this. They just need to know how to get a hold of you.
You know, Steve, one of the reasons you're up there is because you're clairvoyant. You can see this entire town.
Is there a number or someplace they can reach you?
Yes.
That's was my
an
point.
email address, wrcw@verizon.net, 508-274-4963. And I'd be hesitant to pass out Sharon's number.
508-291-0187.
And
I have had a few people contact me, and they don't have an email address, and that's fine. As long as we have a phone that we can get a hold of you for that day, that's fine, as long as you
And
can
if you
volunteer.
can't remember any of those numbers, Just
Show up.
Don't call
Show up.
911.
We'll put
but
you to
call
work.
town hall and get more information, and somebody in town hall will help you. So I'd give out the chief's cell phone number, but I'm not going to do that. No. So if you have the urge to volunteer, please do. Last year was just a outstanding event, and I'm sure this year will be even better. Thank you. Anything else?
Thank you for the opportunity to be here.
We'll see you every week, right?
Pretty much.
The next few weeks. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your patience tonight with the schedule. Mrs. Winslow, next.
Next, we have approval of SOAR abatements.
Mr. Campina.
And I've been reading these over, and I'm going to be cranky with Mr. Campina.
That's okay.
Mr. Campina, good evening.
Good evening. Good evening, Mr. Chair, members of the board. These abatements were accounts created from folks in past projects, Briarwood, Rose Point, Wewiantic, who hadn't tied in. The property, some of the property's been sold, and some people have complied. What these particular abatements are for, people have actually complied and tied in. So all I'm asking is they've tied in, and all I'm asking is that the accounts that we created to try to get them to comply, we actually billed them for all the years, EDUs that they should have had. There's some legal issue with it, we've had discussions in the past of some legal issues. So what I'm looking to do is to abate that, close those accounts, and then start the new accounts with these individuals who have tied in, and we'll move forward and collect the EDU as we go forward. So, and we can take them one at a time and we can discuss them and go from there. But that's a general view of what these are. Okay. There's one that I want to hold because I'm not, there's one of the gentlemen's, we can wait, if you want to wait till we get there, we can. But basically a gentleman's paid a bank for a bank, and that money is someplace, I don't know where it is, so I don't want to bait anything until I find out where that
Why don't
money
we
is.
just go down the
One at a
list and
time.
deal with them one at a time?
Okay, so
Please remember no names here.
Account number 792385. That we can start with that one, and that's pretty straightforward. It's Briarwood, and they've since tied in, and they're now an active account, which is the account number down below. Let me see if I put the account for you. I apologize if I hadn't. But they have a new account. So the account number 792385, I want to abate that account in the amounts of $298 and $596 and close it. Get rid of it. It's done. And then the account we have now for that particular piece of property will move forward and bill them accordingly.
Mr. Chairman,
Mrs. Winslow.
I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that when we talked about this, that the whole point of setting up these accounts, that we could collect money on these accounts, and the whole point of setting up the accounts was not just to put some pressure on people, but because the SOAR budget is actually done on the number of people that are supposed to be connected and paying user charges.
I agree. When we set these accounts up originally, I think there was 22 individuals who just totally ignored us, so we tried billing them. There's some legal issues, and we have talked to legal counsel. We are going to set the wheels in motion to take these people physically to Superior Court and sue them for the money. Yes, that's in the process. The individuals, these 4 individuals that have tied in, I think, and it's just my opinion and why I'm asking the board, is that for tying in, that if I wipe out the past account, to me, that's a plus, because now they're paying actively from this day forward, actually, when they actually tied in. And so, to me, it was a win-win. But if you don't want to do this, I don't have a problem with it, and we can meet with town council and take them all at one time and go after this money, absolutely. I don't have a problem with that.
Yeah, but here, I think you're misunderstanding me, Mr. Campina.
Maybe I am. I apologize.
We said that we were going to do this because this was a way to put pressure on people to tie in.
To tie in, yes.
Okay. So, as people in Contract 1 and people in Contract 2 who are tying in are watching on TV tonight,
Absolutely.
They're saying, oh, look at that. They can send me bills, and I can put it off for a year or two, and then eventually I'll tie in when I feel like it, and they'll just credit it. So what was the point of this exercise?
Well, the point of the exercise was to get compliance. There's people that just totally ignored it. So, and there's a small percent. Parkwood is just about done, and the few that are left, we may have the same exercise, but we haven't set any precedent. Our bylaws say that we can fine them daily. I think it's $200, and then it says at that point we have to take them to Superior Court to get the money. And so that's the point we're at. We can do that right now. We can stop this and go after them. Absolutely. Again, I have 4 people that have complied, so I'm excited to tie into the sewer. Now they're paying the bill. So for me, and it may sound kind of crazy, but these are 4 people I'd like to, okay, great, you tied in, and I'll abate that. Because there's also a legal issue. I can't lien that money as we normally do. If somebody doesn't pay the sewer bill, we can lien that because it becomes a tax lien. Because this is not set up as a tax lien, we have no teeth other than Superior Court. So for me, the cost of going to Superior Court, the whole 9 yards, for me it made more sense to say, okay, great, you tied in. I'll abate this money back, and thank you for tying in. Hopefully everybody says, that's a great idea. We'll all tie in, because those are 22 that we're fighting, because it's going to be a legal battle to get them to comply. So that was my thought process, and that's what I'm presenting to you this evening.
Okay.
Mrs. Begley?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Guy, what period of time went by before these people finally tied in? Was it over a year?
Oh, well over a year. These are back to 2006, 2007. I believe that this particular one is Rose Point. Rose Point was 2006.
I thought that at that point, when someone tied in, that they had to pay the development fee of $15,000.
No, they've paid their betterment. This is not a betterment issue. They pay their betterment. Because that's a lienable thing.
So they paid their betterment,
Yes.
but what?
They never tied in. So they haven't been paying the EDU rate. They've paid a betterment. They've paid their betterment, so that's done. So they just didn't tie in. By not tying in, I cannot bill them for the EDU. So we had 22 individuals from past projects who just hadn't tied in, so we billed them. We went from the 1 year from the day that they got their letter and said, okay, we're going to charge you EDUs up to the present, which is 2011. And it created a lot of issues because, according to Mr. Foster, he can't attach that. We have no teeth to actually collect the money.
How do we change it? So
Go to
that
court.
it has teeth.
Go to court.
No, so that it has teeth.
Go to court. Because the provision in our bylaws calls...
Okay, we can't do anything about the account that exists.
That's right.
How do we change it going forward so that
Well,
it has teeth?
Well, I believe we should go to court to set a precedent. In other words, if we sue these folks in court, and then we have teeth in the future from this suing these folks moving forward, and let the Superior Court say that, yes, what we're doing is right, we can collect that money, and then it sets a precedent, we can go forward with it. Now we have a precedent that we have, and a procedure to follow.
I just want to ask Mr. Bowen what
Yeah,
his
absolutely.
thoughts are on this.
Did you just say that you wrote this letter that said, I am recommending that the above noted account be abated in full?
Well, the 596...
You just said, take them to court if you want teeth. I don't understand the two messages.
This, again, what I'm saying is that these individuals, out of the 22, have tied in.
Right.
Okay, so I'm saying reward these. There's 18 others who are ignoring us. So I'm saying, and we've been going back and forth for a year about going to court. So we just really need to get to court for the other 18 that are continuing to ignore us. And then we've got projects that we're doing now. We have to have set some kind of precedent. So I believe going to court will set the precedent
For
that
the
we can move
18.
forward. For the 18, and then also going forward, because now we have a legal opinion.
Mr. Chair.
Mr. Bowen. Question from Mrs. Bailey.
I think Mr. Bowen.
Mr. Chairman, through you to Ms. Begley, I definitely have some ideas on this, but I'd rather, yes, thank you.
I have to agree, and I think that we're on the same wavelength, Mr. Chair. I think that any of this, that if we're going to discuss anything to do with litigation, it should be an executive session.
You're talking about the abatements process, not litigation.
Well, it was brought up during this discussion that that's a possibility.
If you want teeth, you can take them to court. We're not discussing, we're discussing these abatements. Anything else on the abatements? Mrs. Winslow.
Yes. I just want to point out that if Briarwood Rose Point was completed in 2006, And it's now 2012, right? Okay. So there's 6 years that have gone by. How many people were tied into that project? A couple hundred?
At least more than that at 3 projects, yes.
So of those few hundred people that tied in when they were supposed to, we had 22 who didn't.
Correct.
And you're talking about rewarding people for finally doing what they should have done 6 years ago.
I wasn't involved 6 years ago when I got on board. I thought we should bill them, and so when we billed them, it got a reaction because nothing was being done whatsoever. So I thought I sent bills out. I get a reaction. 4 people comply with that reaction.
Did you tell them that we would abate these bills?
No, these are requests. No one knows it. There's no promise. I can't promise anything. But the reason why I brought them forward was because they have complied. They tied in, and I thought that now that they're tied in, they're part of the system. I would abate the past. And let me say this also, and I can break the numbers down for you, but a lot of these, what happened is people owned them. So, example, one of them down below is owned by a bank. So they foreclosed, they never tied in, a new owner comes in, purchased the property, he actually has all those back bills. There is no lien, so there's a question of whether they'll ever get paid or not until we take them to court. And some of these folks bought into this problem and didn't create the problem. So maybe you're right. Maybe we need to sit down and take them one at a time, executives, however you want to handle it, and take them one at a time. But, you know, the only point I'm making is that I was going to abate these individuals simply because they tied in.
The only question is the abatement, yes or no?
Yes, that's all.
There's
If I
no
can abate these individuals,
alternative.
yeah.
There's no if, ins, or buts. It's either yes or no.
Yes.
That's what's on the agenda.
That's what I'd like to see. That's simple as that. But
Mr.
Is
Chairman.
there any discussion on account 792385? Mr. Titlebaum?
Generally speaking, for this account and for the other accounts that are similarly situated that we have in our package here, I can't support voting abatements for any of them at this time. 6 years is an awful long time for an account to be hanging out there. Shame on us for not dealing with it sooner. But, you know, going forward, I don't want to put this town in a position where somebody who starts getting whacked after a year or two of not tying in complains, but wait a minute, you let off that guy and they you know, failed to pay in for 6 years. So I just, you know, it's difficult to go to court over what look like fairly not huge sums on paper, but at the same time, I think we have to be mindful of what our actions here will do going forward. So.
Okay. Well, that works.
Okay.
Next.
Next up is any other sore business.
There was one abatement here that is different. It was, the house was demolished.
no, he's getting ready to demolish. That's the same factor.
Oh, to be, okay.
To be demolished. So he tied into the property, and now he's going to demolish it and then tie in.
Do we come up with a date on Mr. Judici? I know you and I had gone back and forth.
The very next meeting, at the first meeting after town meeting, schedule him. He's ready to put him on. Absolutely, we're pretty close.
When you say the first meeting after town meeting, are you
Which
talking
would
about
be
the next Tuesday or the following?
The Tuesday after the town meeting.
30th?
Yes, because I think we have a town meeting. Yes, he's ready.
Is there any other sewer business before the board this evening?
No, Mr. Chair, but if we could put the matter of the handling of these types of sewer abatements on an upcoming executive session agenda that town council will be in attendance at, so we can properly discuss. I would appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you.
He's
you,
aiming to
Mr.
please
Campino.
tonight.
I agree. It's excellent. Thank you.
You don't have anything on the other stuff, do you?
What's that? I think I'm
You're
good. I
you're
think
good.
everything is fine.
All right, thank you. Have a good evening.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Campina.
Next up.
Okay, next up we have the street light request at Swift's Neck. We're all stiff from sitting.
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Again, we kind of got off to a later start, so I apologize.
Thank you.
Appreciate your patience.
I'll share with you, Mrs. Begley. We share because we care.
Good evening. If you could just state your name.
Good evening. My name is Tom Polari. I'm a resident of.
What did you do with Janet?
I told her to come over here.
You passed out the books, then you snuck back in the seat. I
know.
thought maybe you went outside for a second. It's okay. You can sit there.
This is unusual. Usually she's the one doing all the talking to me. But anyway.
We're not going to believe that.
Oh.
That'll get you in trouble when you leave the room.
My name is Tom Polari. We've been residents of 5 Beach Street for 39 years, and I've been coming to Wareham for 58 years with parents. And what we have here is something we're asking help on. First thing I want to do is thank you very much for having us. And second, I'm hoping you can help us, because we got a very serious problem. And a lot of my neighbors are here who are supporting this, because it's getting dangerous. We're all longtime residents of Swift's Neck, Roby Street, Beach Street. And we're all owners. We keep up our property. You're going to see some of the houses that are here. We take a lot of pride in our properties. And what's happening, our homes are being stoned, and now 2 of our residents have had rocks thrown at them. Fortunately, not hit yet. So if you can look at the pictures, if you look at the book, we'll start with, this is our house, Janet and mine, at 5 Beach Street. And I want to preface this by saying this has been going on for 3 years. It started in 2010. And back in 2010, when I'd walk my property and I'd see some stones that, you know what's on your property, you know what isn't. You know, you look, and I see my vinyl siding cracked. Didn't think much of it. 2011 continues. Well, 2012, it's really gotten bad. It's ongoing. It subsides in the winter. It's like a seasonal thing in the summer. The warm weather, obviously, kids are out of school. And we're talking kids, not that we've identified anybody, but the residents, especially Mr. Fontecchio, who went out one night, who got rocks thrown at him, they're 16, 17, 18-year-olds. They're driving cars because they park over at Swift's Beach, cross the ravine, pile rocks, throw them at the house, and I'm going to give you one bad example, then run and take off by car. Okay, so 5 Beach Street. You will see 4 cracks in the vinyl siding. If you turn the page of that, you will see the other cracks in the vinyl. If you're looking at the house, the front of the house with the slider underneath, my wife and I were in bed July 25th, sleeping. While we're in the house, all these attacks occur. My neighbors brought it to my attention tonight. While people are in their homes. They haven't been going after homes that are empty. Now you can read into that. And one example, I'm going to tell you what we think about this. But that slider underneath, July 25th, smashed. We're sleeping in the bedroom upstairs. Our granddaughter's downstairs, sleeping downstairs, who's afraid to go to sleep the next night saying, Papa, are we safe? Okay, that's 5 Beach Street. I'm going to go on to 4 Roby Street, which is right. My house is just to the left of Ramo's house, Ray and Angela, who are sitting here, on 4 Roby Street. And you can see the target. You see the windows for Roby Street. Nice target. You're going to see a lot of homes with great windows like this here. And they become targets for these kids. Okay? You see the cracks. Mr. Fontecchio has had cracks in his vinyl, multiple windows broken. On 9/14, that morning, Ramo came over and said, Tom, come out and look at my property. There had to be at least, without exaggeration, 25 to 35 rocks on his property, on his deck, in his driveway, and the rocks are like this. When he came out to yell at the kids, because he saw them, Their last volley of rocks before they ran were at him, to the point where his wife Angela was in a state of panic. They ran, got in their car, drove up Swifts Beach Road. The next night, they came back and threw rocks at his house again. He was afraid to go outside. His wife would not let him go outside for fear of being hurt by these vandals, I'll say. That's Ray Fontecchio. Ray is sitting here. He's 78 years old. Ray, would you raise your hand?
Yes. It's Ray and Angela? Yep.
Good evening.
Police were called. The next one you're seeing is Rich and Kathleen Papineau, 4 Pond Street. Now, this house that you're looking at faces the park. So we're talking our house, Ray's house, we're facing the parking lot, Swift's Neck parking lot. Then there's the other parking lot on the other side where the boat ramp is. So this one is facing the park, okay? Rocks are being thrown from the park. Other things are going on in that park that I'm going to address also. But rocks are being thrown from the park, and you can see they've had you see the broken screen, and if you switch the page, you will also see that window is where the rocks were thrown, and also with vinyl siding being broken and so forth. Rocks coming from the park, from that shed that was put up, supposed to be a place for picnics and gatherings. I've lived there for 39 years. I think maybe I've seen one. Years and years ago, they used to have a teacher there with arts and crafts for kids. But that hasn't happened in a long, long time. 15 Roby Street. There's an email from Sherry the Miles, and their email, this house, if you flip the page, this house is in the next to the parking lot down the end of the beach where the boat ramp is. Their house is right there in that parking lot. Same night that they broke our sliding glass window, they also got other places in the town, too, that we know about. Police told us. But the same night they got our sliding glass window, what they also did is there's a rock, as Miles described it, about the size of a man's 2 hands, went through the window in the front. If you flip the page, you'll see it. You can see those windows up there, the triangular windows. Through the window, 20 feet through the house, to the kitchen, and to the dining room in the back. Glass hit the furniture. Excuse me, I have a little cold. Glass hit the furniture. Glass shattered everywhere. Between the furniture and everything else, it cost $5,000. They had to put in a claim for. Mine was only $350. I haven't had the vinyl repaired, but just for the other thing. Mr. Fontecchio, I don't know how much he spent so far. Not only, now we think that they're not just throwing them. We also think that they may have a slingshot of some sort, because the force where this is coming is unbelievable. It really is, for something that big to go through this glass like this. Then they leave another rock on their mailbox post, outside on the post, which is saying, we'll be back. They're afraid. We're afraid, but we're getting angry. Her 3-year-old grandson was cut. 2 other people were cut. I could still get slivers of glass just from my sliding glass door. God knows what they have. There's the slivers of glass from the safety, you know how it breaks. You'd be picking it up forever, especially in your rug and so forth. She wrote a very nice email of what they did and how many times they've been hit. If switching that page to Philip and Sherry Miles down below, this is the house right next door at 11 Roby Street. They broke into this house, kicked in the door, and broke in. Same time. So now they're entering the houses. If you switch to the next page, Rusty and Karen Shea, who are here with us tonight, remodeled their home. Those windows you see in the front, new windows, after construction, new windows there, they broke them. They had to replace them. Odell and Sandy Brown. This is an email And I hope that you take the time at some other time to read these emails. And their house, and if you flip the page with that email, new home, it's a beautiful home. You can see it, 1 Pond Street, faces the park where the playground is. Siding broken, railing because it's vinyl, broken. Odell, who's probably in his early 70s, went out one night, 11 o'clock, to chase him, threw rocks at him. Now he's out chasing them. He's angry. He's angry. They threw rocks at him. They're complaining that at the playground, kids are gathered. I'll get into that. I don't want to jump to that. I'll come to that in a second. So you can see Odell and Sandy Brown's house. We're showing you Sonny and Marie Milano's house, which is right on Roby Street. The Milanos are here tonight with us. So I just want you to see the types of homes. Up above that, Lon and Helen McDougal, that's right on Beach Street. Look at the target of those windows. This is why we're getting hammered down there. If you go, you'll see the Swift Neck parking lot. What's that? There's one light there. One light. It's dark. You cannot see these kids coming across. So, one of our requests is another street light. The light hopefully will deter them from, because what they do, they plan this. In the brush, you will see brush in front of the end of the parking lot to the beach. Piles of rocks. It's premeditated. They're doing this, and then they're going to the rocks, and they start to throw them. It's unbelievable. We need another street light. We would ask for another street light to help with this. Located, if you look at the street light that's there, to the straight ahead in that right-hand corner, that's where the ravine is. That's where they cross over at night, especially at low tide, because they can just walk by. They've got this all figured out, and they get us. Now, if you switch the page again, our next problem is, of course, the shed. See the roof of that shed? That's not from that's right at the right on Circle Drive, where the playground is there. That shed, see the roof on that shed, the shingles. That isn't like that because of wind. Kids, they sit on the roof. They rip off the shingles. Maybe about 4 or 5 years ago, the town did reshingle the roof because John Russo lived there, and he kept saying, well, if we're going to have it there, let's make it look good. Well, here we are again. How many times are we going to reshingle it? We as residents, we want it torn down. No one uses it. There's a bench under there that a neighbor put under so that people would use. Nobody uses it. Kids do. Smell marijuana. 1, 2 o'clock in the morning. It's right next door to the basketball court. They're bouncing basketballs. They're selling marijuana. You see the cars pulling up. No parking zone. Parking there. Going in. Odell and Sandy Brown will tell you this, and because they watched this night. Kathy Papineau is here tonight. She will tell you this. We see this all the time. They get high, and you'll hear, let's get that window. Wow, that window's a good target. Okay? We would like that shed taken down. It's of no use. If it was used, wonderful. When the buses come down and the kids come for the beach and so forth, they're always on the beach. They have a wonderful time, and that's great. No one uses this except these kids. That high grass and brush where the vandals are hiding the rock, that's what I was talking about, where they hide the rock. What we're asking for, if you could help us, is more lighting in the parking lot. Second, and I know we bring up the police, yes, and we're not stupid people, we know. As one of the police officers said to the Miles is, you know, if you want to pay for a police detail, cost you $400, we'll have a police officer there all night. Well, we know that if the police are standing there, they're not going to throw rocks. We know that. But we do know that in the summer, the town puts on 20 to 25 temporary police, I believe. I'm not sure exactly. And what they did do this year, they had temporary police, young guys, police officers. They're standing at the beach all day long. Day. We don't need help during the day. We need help from 10 at night till 6 in the morning. They're there. They're out there 12. Ours was after 12, about 1 o'clock. Ray, 4 in the morning, 2 in the morning. We need, if one of those 20 or 25 in the summer could be staged, that's one of their posts, is those 2 parking lots. It would be a huge help. We're not asking all year long. I don't think you have temporary police all year long. We would ask for cars to go by there a lot more often. And again, nothing's going to happen when the police come. We know that. The police have come down. They answer our calls. They take our notes. And they're fine. They're nice to us and all of that. But it's not solving the problem. The other thing, those parking lots, it says that they close at 9 o'clock. No, they don't. They're open all night long. Back years ago, 30 years ago, I'm the guy that used to close the gate at 9 o'clock and open it in the morning. They're never closed. There's cars in there all night long. And so we would like that enforced. It says it. Beaches close at 9. Kick them out. And come back again in 20 minutes because they're coming back. You know, they're coming back. This isn't, you know, these are kids. So we're asking for a light. We're asking for a temporary, one of the temporary officers to be there at nighttime for us, enforce the 9 o'clock closing of the parking lot. And there's no parking signs next to the playground where the basketball court, the shed is. Cars are parked there all the time. Pull up, buy whatever they're going to buy, play basketball. They're there all the time. We need people to come down on these kids. We have neighbors who are afraid, who are cautious. My wife, Tom, before we go to bed, brought up 2 baseball bats from downstairs in case we have to go out and help Ramo because we're getting angry. We don't want our elderly to be afraid, to be crying, to be hurt. Because we're strong. We're stronger than these kids. But we need help. And we want to do things the right way, but we're also going to protect ourselves and our friends. Thank you. Any way you can help us would be greatly appreciated.
Thank you very much. That was unfortunate that you need to give this type of presentation, but it is real.
It is.
And I know that I received something. I forwarded all those additional pieces. I didn't see the chief on some of those emails, and I made sure that I sent all those to him.
Thank you.
He responded back this afternoon, and it was kind of long, so I didn't get through the whole thing. But basically, he supports as much lighting as possible. I think were his words. So
great.
I think that we actually drove out there the other day, didn't we, on that little tour we took? And one light, I don't even think 2 lights is enough. You got that whole park when you come around the corner.
Right.
It's dark, I'm assuming, at night.
Yes,
right?
pitch black.
And then when you get to the parking lot is big.
Right.
And that one light's not doing that parking lot. And then on the other side, when you come around the corner, there's that other part. I don't think there's any lights there either.
Right.
So there's very few lights.
Right.
Yeah. Right. And so, you know, I think that part of the recommendation from him is more lights, not
Right.
one more, but more lights, right?
I think a street light to put up is about $600, I believe, which from some of the numbers I've heard tonight, 600 doesn't sound too bad.
And in terms of the, I read those emails about, you know, gate closures, making sure that there's no cars on the beach, and those types of things.
Right.
And this is not a scapegoat issue, but the Board of Selectmen have no authority there to write a policy. That's a day-to-day activity that's governed by the town administrator in terms of when those gates are open, when those parking lots are open, and those types of things. The municipal, and under his direction, the municipal maintenance director, who is in charge of lighting and things like that. One question did come up about whether the new street commissioner, what do you call that, Road commissions are certainly part of that, parking and enforcement. So there's a whole bunch of people there.
Mhm.
The Board of Selectmen, I mean, we could write a policy, and that's going to get you 0.
Okay.
Right?
Yep.
Because one, nobody can enforce it because we don't have the right to do that. It's day-to-day operations of the town.
All right.
But I mean, anybody can write a policy. It's not going to do any good. There's signs there that say no parking. We just viewed all those signs, but yet people park there, right?
Right.
So even a sign doesn't work. It's a lot of enforcement. And what, in my opinion, is once you grab the first little person, almost slipped. Once you grab the first person,
right?
I think future persons will slow. And I think that once Mr. Sullivan has a meeting with the chief, there are some new surveillance techniques that we may be able to employ, deploy in that area. And if we can catch one, it's going to be a problem. Because I don't understand, as you don't, and then I'll give the board a chance, but I can't, I mean, even the Hulk couldn't pick that rock up, that boulder, and throw it clear across the path, through that window, through the guy's house, and into the kitchen. That was not done by doing this, right?
They have those large slingshots.
Now that becomes a weapon issue.
Oh, yes.
Well,
And so when, the chief gets into that, that's their line of business.
Right.
So
the other thing is we're wondering if on the streetlights, could there surveillance cameras be put on them?
Well, that's an issue.
Because some towns use some cities.
Sure. Yeah,
they
they do
have
that.
in downtown areas. They have surveillance cameras.
That's between Mr. Sullivan.
Mr. Sullivan is this gentleman here.
That's Mr. Sullivan right there, and the chief.
Okay.
But there are things available for the tools that they can use.
Okay.
I
We would
ask-
appreciate anything that you could do to help us. We really
On
would.
the board level, though, Mr. Titlebaum, any comments?
You indicated early in your presentation that this was more of a summertime problem, that the problem seems to abate in the off-season. Are you still experiencing rock attacks and things of that nature at the present time?
The last one was September 14th and 15th. The next night it was warm. And over 3 years, it seems in the wintertime, cold weather and so forth, that it hasn't happened. An occasional rock you'll find in your lawn, driveway or something, but not to the extent of the summertime. And it's mainly on the weekends, like a Friday night, Saturday night type thing, obviously. And this is where it's frightening. It really is.
Well, I can tell you, both from growing up in this town 35 years ago, I probably would have been considered a nuisance blasting Led Zeppelin at 11 o'clock at night in a parking lot.
I probably heard you.
But I wasn't throwing rocks at houses.
No, I know.
But the beach parking lots all over town have long been a hotbed for adolescents. Little Harbor was like that, down in front of where I am at Tempest Knob, until we started getting fairly routine police patrols through there. There were drug deals down there. There were people screaming, drunk, yelling 2 o'clock in the morning. Fortunately, I think even a slingshot wouldn't hit my house. I hope that they don't hear that and want to test that theory. But anyway...
See, that's one thing, though. I mean, we've dealt with that over the years. I've been there 39 years now. The parking lot in the summertime, kids having a good... The kids are kids.
Yeah.
But this is... They
is way
brought it
above
to
and
a
beyond.
whole different level now. This is different. We've put up with it. They have a good... They'll be gone in a half an hour. They were having fun. This isn't fun for us.
Yeah.
Sure. This
Mr.
is different.
I would just like to say something. As far as this shed is concerned, we've discussed this with neighbors. We'll take it down if you can drag it away.
If
Mr.
you'll-
Sullivan.
We'll help you. Believe me.
Mr.
I mean that in all sincerity.
Our
We'll take it
grandchildren
down.
use that parking lot. I mean, the playground, the little things that are there. They have a great time over there. But who you can't go over there with the language, and they're sitting. And 2 weeks ago we were down. Kids are sitting on top of the. We called the police. They were there right away. Got rid of them. They're taking the shingles off the roof. Why do we have this here? It looks like hell. If it ain't good, get rid of it.
Okay. Mr. Slavin.
The best thing we can do, because again, we're limited in how we can do it directly, is have the town administrator, chief of the police, and the director of municipal maintenance sit down, come up with a long-term program with a solution, working with the neighbors. We can make a policy recommendation. They have to implement it with you. That's what needs to be done.
Thank you. We appreciate that very much.
Mrs.
We'll
Winslow?
be available anytime to meet with whomever would like to meet with us, anytime at all. For sometimes when ideas are shared and they're implemented, we feel good, hopefully you feel good, and we can solve this problem. We would really look forward to working with you if you want us to.
Mrs. Winslow.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I completely empathize with you. I live in a remote area of town. We have the same problem, playground across the street. The playground's trashed. There's hypodermic needles, broken glass everywhere. Can't take your children there to play. Homes are vandalized, spray painted, rocks, condoms filled with sand hurled through people's windows. It's a disgrace,
We need to do something.
And unfortunately, one of the things this board can do as we come into the budget season is we can really focus on public safety and getting as many officers on the road as we can, because these kids know that they can't be everywhere. And we really need to hone in on some of these areas that my neighborhood's very dark at night. We have one street light that 75% of the time doesn't work. And the kids know it. And I worry about these kids too. We had a violent home invasion earlier this year. We had a stabbing which resulted in the death of a young man. This is where this type of behavior eventually leads, unfortunately. And, when you think about the loss of a young life, really 2 young lives, we really need to, for everybody's sake, really look at putting as many public safety officers on the road as we can, so that they can really focus.
I agree with you 100%. I worked in a school system in Boston, at South Boston High, and some of the kids that were assigned to us, it was either go to jail or go to school. Didn't make sense to me. And we couldn't prove it to the people that were sending them to the school rather than putting them in jail where they belonged. Until, of course, they surrounded one student in a bathroom and stabbed him 5 times. Then they listened and stopped that ridiculous policy, I'll say. So I agree exactly what you're saying, because it's dangerous to the kids also in the long run.
It is.
And keep in mind what is interesting about this, it's been pointed out, is they're stoning the houses, only the houses of the people that are in them, not the empty ones. Very odd. But
And they come back again.
Right.
So-
Mrs. Begley?
I too empathize. It's difficult living in a tourist town, and it sounds like, I don't know if the kids have curfews during the school year, or
I
I,
think
don't know
that's
if,
probably what
or
it
if there's summer kids, but vandalism won't be tolerated. Absolutely won't be tolerated. I live by a marina, and I get 2 o'clock in the morning, people are outside and don't realize that their voices carry. We become accustomed to it in the summer months. But the vandalism, absolutely not. Now, did you happen to have any police officers, bicycle patrol officers in your
They do.
neighborhood
They
over the
come by
summer?
during the daytime, but the problem being is we have a police officer in the parking lot during the day. We have bicycle police officers driving by the properties, say 3, 4, 5 in the afternoon. It's when it gets dark is
We
when we
had
have our
them
biggest problems.
at night because we had a real spike in break-ins, and we had them at night. And again, I have to just reiterate what my fellow board member said, that as the Board of Selectmen, we're really unable, other than to encourage the town administrator to kind of get a small group of you. I know that there's so many of you that are affected by this, but so much more is accomplished when you have fewer number of people in a room. And if you could have representatives, and with Mr. Sullivan, and with the Chief of Police, and with the Director of Municipal Maintenance, and come up with a real action plan to stop this. It's absolutely unacceptable. We have primarily break-ins with houses vacant. I can't imagine what you're going through with the occupied homes having rocks come through the window.
How do we set up that plan? How do we, I mean, we can sit here and say that, but how do we do that, Mr. Sullivan? When do we address this with you, and when do we meet with you?
I'm not going to set up the time right here, but
No, I know,
obviously
but-
I'm going to speak with the chief of police, the
Okay.
director of municipal maintenance, get
Okay.
them together, start speaking with them and bring you on board.
Okay.
All right. I would imagine you two would be the best point of contact of
That'd be
this,
great.
if that's okay with
Yeah, that's fine.
everyone
That would
on
be
there.
fine, as long as it's fine with our neighbors also, that would work with us.
You know,
Yeah.
there's obviously, there's probably peak hours of this that you're speaking about. You said, talking about certain hours that we'd want a greater presence there.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
let's put that all together and create a plan on there. And,
Okay.
you know,
And then,
I
and at
obviously
the same
empathize.
time, Derek, keep this communication that's been going back and forth. Make sure the board is included so that we
Okay.
can. If you need any help,
Thank you.
just let us know, and we'll certainly be happy to do our best to help you.
Great.
Yes, sir. I don't normally do this, but go right ahead. Go right ahead.
If you're gonna bring up the subject with municipal maintenance or whatever about streetlights, I'm not sure streetlights will do it. A big floodlight that lights up the parking lot and part of the beach where they're hiding might be the best thing. Of course, you'll have to put armament around it or something, because that'll be the first target. But if you could light up the parking lot and the beach, part of the beach, that's where they're hiding.
Right. Okay. Listen, again, I tried to give you as much time this evening.
Appreciate it.
Appreciate that.
Appreciate
You
it
know,
very much.
Because at this moment, we can encourage, and Mr. Sullivan will, and the chief will be all over this. But as a board, you know, we can only help them and do whatever we can do to them to help you. But I
Okay.
wanted to make sure that you had plenty of time this evening
Appreciate
to
that.
address the issue so that everybody can hear what the problem is out there.
Okay.
We appreciate that time. Thank you
And-
very much.
And, you know, the police, some of the emails that you saw back and forth, that they have been responding,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
So
They have
this
been
is
down
not, this is not at all a knock on our police department.
No, it's not.
No,
It's
matter of
none of
fact, I
that.
called Lieutenant Wolchek and advised him of this meeting. I wanted to let him know if he'd like to come, so that there's nothing said that's not,
Right,
you know, anything against the police department. We just want to have them help us,
right.
not be against us by any way.
Yeah, Mr.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Did anyone
Thank
else
you.
in your
Thank
group,
you.
did anyone else in your group have a comment? Sir, you all set?
Anybody else? This is Mr.
One comment, is just keep it quiet, give him a second.
It's all season, because the two times we had a rock thrown at our house, side one door, was in March, and then a BB gun shot at our window in December, both of 2012, so it's all season.
All right. Stand up, sir, so we at least can see you.
Parking lots are all year round, you got kids coming down.
Yes, sir.
Playground too, so it's not just the summer, it's all year too.
Right.
I hate
All right,
to,
thank you very
I'd like
much.
to take
We
back
will-
the summer thing, because
I
now with
underst-
my luck, it's going to happen in the winter.
I
hope not.
understand the anger, and we're not happy about it either, so.
Thank you.
I'm sure that
We
this will be
appreciate you
given
listening to us. Thank you
top
very much.
priority here.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Let's move on to B, please.
Discussion of town meeting article regarding future generation wind.
Good evening. Sorry, it seems every time you get here, it's a long process, isn't it? Folks, if we could just take that out. We have a timeline here. We got a meet. If we could take that stuff out in the hallway. Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, that's.
Do you have a PowerPoint? Is that the idea? Dave, you want to reach up and kill that light, please? The other side. There you go. If you could introduce yourself, please, sir, and discuss your, tell us who you are and discuss your warrant article, please.
All right. My name's Keith Mann. I'm a cranberry grower here in town, as well as born in Plymouth. And we are developing a wind project on our cranberry property in Plymouth. It's called Future Generation Wind. We're going to towns and offering net metering deals, and that's what I'd like to talk about tonight. Article 16 gives in Mass General Law, in order for a town to enter a long-term contract, the board needs authorization from town meeting. So we're asking town meeting to authorize the board to enter in discussions with us to further pursue this as an option. So if this is my farm, that happens to be a view from Head of the Bay Road, a simulated view of what the project would look like with 100-meter towers and 100-meter turbines. These pictures were done of Nordex 2.5 megawatt turbines. In actuality, they're going to be smaller turbines than that. These are, again, in the town of Plymouth, though. We can go to the next slide. So this is a little summary of the project. On the right side, I have a printed board, which wasn't in this presentation, which I'll probably add for town meeting. It gives an idea of where the project is. That's Route 25 on the sort of northern side of that line, going through our farm. There's the rest area there. Some people know the sailboat as sort of a landmark out by the highway. That's my old boat. The property goes from Plymouth. There's a town line sort of diagonally off across the bottom, and my property continues into Bourne there. We have 4 turbines that are fully permitted now in the town of Plymouth. You can see 3 on the south side of Route 25 and 1 on the north side. So the project has all its federal permits, state permits, and local special permits from Plymouth. There were 3 appeals on the project. The project was permitted in 2 different phases. There was 2 appeals on the 3 turbines on the south side of the highway, which have been resolved to everyone's satisfaction. There's still 1 outstanding on the north side. We expect that to be resolved pretty soon as well. But right now we've got to go ahead to build the first 3, and it's very possible that we build this project in phases anyhow. We've been in discussion with towns with several towns in the area. Currently, towns of Rochester, Marion, and the Old Rochester School District have all signed up for 100% of their town loads with our project. So we're very excited about that. That was a long process that was vetted by council for each one of those parties. It was months of work to put that together, and we applaud their leadership on this. Our project is an 8 megawatt total wind project. It's 4 2 megawatt turbines. These are going to be top tier manufacturers. We are going to be offering net metering, which I'll get into a little bit. I know last week you had a presentation from a solar project, and they did a good job explaining what net metering is and how it works. So I'm going to briefly touch on it again today, just to reiterate, and for the benefit of those who may not have seen that on TV last week. But with our project and the benefit of net metering, which is set up from the DPU, Department of Public Utilities, we can offer up to 20 to 30% savings to the town on their energy expenses. I won't get into all the nuts and bolts. I think that's appropriate for the board, or if the board has a committee or administrator that's going to work with us on this. We'll get into those details after after town meeting. One of the big issues with projects interconnection. We've been involved in STAR for 2 years working on this interconnection, and we're very close to having that complete as well. We've actually been permitting this entire project for almost 3 years now. I think we can go to the next page, which is simply just a view of the property and where the interconnection is going to go at the Valley substation. That's pretty simple. The next slide is a timeline that we expect completion by. Permitting is already done. Interconnection we expect by the end of this year. We expect to have PPAs completed again, by the end of this year in order to start financing this project to order turbines and have them erected by the end of 2013. So that's our goal there. Yep, next slide is one of the benefits we feel of our project. This is a you know, a locally owned project from a fourth generation cranberry grower here. We have there's no upfront cost to the town. The town doesn't have any ownership, so there's no liability to the town. There's no permitting risk to the town. A lot of projects, you know, they spend a lot of money getting something developed. It takes years to get a project off the ground, as it's taken here. So the town doesn't have that. It's a long-term savings. We're talking about a 20-year contract. The reason why it has to be such a long project is renewable energy project takes a huge upfront investment. Banks need to see that there's a guaranteed source of revenue to service that debt for a long period of time. So that's why we ask for such a long term. Let's see. This is the team that's going to be putting it together. I plan to own this project, and I've been developing it. But certainly I'm not the brains behind it. We hire, I have Clear Planet Energy. They've done 900 megawatts of spinning generation. He's actually joined with another company, and they've actually have a much bigger portfolio.
It looks like that picture in the commercial you see. You know, with the folks standing in the, yeah.
That's me and my wife with a nice crop floating in the background. Hope to see a wind turbine in that background soon too. Most of the team is local. Source One is Boston. Atlantic Design Engineering, they're in Sandwich. They're a project engineer. V-Bar is Salt Lake City. They're a world-class analyst for wind. They do the evaluation. We've been monitoring wind on the property for 3 years now with Met Towers and SODAR equipment. So we know what we're going to be able to produce. John Clavens is considered the godfather of renewable energy in Massachusetts. He's our counsel for the project. I think that's the review of the project, unless people have questions on the project, and I can get into net metering a little bit as well. But do any questions?
Okay, why don't I do that, Mr. Titlebaum, Mr. Slavin?
You said
Mr.
you have, I think, 3 towns that are going to take energy already?
Yep. 2 towns in a school district.
School district, and you have 8 megawatts total available?
Yep.
And you said they're taking 100% of their needs?
They're taking 100% of their needs, which is about 40% of our project right now.
Okay, so therefore you'd have 60% of the total of 8.
Yep.
Okay.
Mrs. Begley?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have a couple questions. So I'm assuming, as you said, because it's such a huge financial project, that you kind of have to have your ducks lined up. You have to have your customers lined up. So has construction started on these?
Site construction has. The site's been cleared. Access roads have been made. You know, trees are cleared. But nothing's in the ground. There's no foundations yet or anything like that.
It's unclear to me from the photograph, but what's the proximity of the turbines to any residences?
The closest residences, if you can see the turbine sort of at the lower center of that page, is about 1,300 feet to that turbine.
To a residence?
Yep. And
So
there's 2 about that approximately 1,400 feet. I think I don't have somewhere we have a table of exactly how many houses within certain distances, but these are considered very well set back turbines. These are modern turbines with pitch control, opposed to other turbines that are on the Cape, which are stall regulated machines and have a lot of noise.
Kind of understand my concern and where I'm going with this.
Yep.
It's kind of, front page news, and believe me, I'm all for alternative sources of energy. However, where would that leave us as a town? If we signed on for a 20-year contract to have the power, and then it turned out that the owners of these residences started fighting this project when it started, as some have, and there's some that are going to be decommissioned, I think, in Falmouth. Is that correct? They're off.
They have conditions. They have operational conditions.
And that's where they're headed. Where would that leave your customers?
Well, we have...
Will there be provisions in the contract language?
Well, yes, there would be. There would be, if we aren't able to supply what we promise, there would be outs in the contract. You wouldn't be held to stay in the contract if we weren't holding our end of it up. I think we've done a lot of public outreach on this project, and we've had appeals, and we've resolved concerns of those neighbors, and have put in place protections that they feel are going to protect them. So we don't expect trouble. There's a lot of turbines. There's a lot of press about concerns about turbines. And we take it seriously too. When we started permitting this, we actually dropped 800 flyers door to door the same day we filed at Town Hall. Everyone found out at the same time. We held our own meeting that we at a community center to present this before it was even presented at the town. And I've had I don't know how many kitchen meetings where people bring me in for coffee.
But the reality, we'll be facing the reality once those turbines are up and they're running, and then it'll be the reality.
Yeah.
So I just want to be sure that we're not going to be placing ourselves that we have no risk.
Yep.
Frankly.
Well, that will be my risk. So I take that risk, and
I'm
if
sorry,
I'm not
but I'm
able,
glad to hear it.
Yeah, if I'm not able to produce, then the town would have an out with the contract. So the town, that wouldn't be a risk for the town.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Would you?
Mr. Chair, may I ask a question?
Yeah, I was just.
Oh, okay. I thought you were going to forget me.
Yes, that way.
Thank you.
He's waiting.
I'm a big fan of any alternative energy. And years ago, my brother used to install those things, and he used to sit on top of them. There's a picture of him in a newspaper somewhere being crazy like that. But here's my question. As a municipality, how do we just buy energy from you without following a procurement process and going out to bid for it and allowing other companies or other people who may be doing similar things to you to offer a competitive price? Is there some sort of rule that exempts?
There is. I mean, of course, it's up to the town to do whatever the town chooses. There is a Chapter 30B, I think, that allows an exemption for procurement. If the town wants to go through that process, they can. If they want to go through an RFP process, they have that choice too. So, but that's up to the town.
But I guess what my question is how do we avoid doing that? Because I was under the impression that there were very few exemptions, and they seem to mostly apply to things like legal services because lawyers write the laws, and they don't want to be.
Yeah, I would defer to Mr. Bowen, please.
Mr. Chairman, through you to Ms. Winslow. When it comes to power purchase agreements, there's an exemption under the Uniform Procurement Act. It's Chapter 30B, Section 1, subsection 33, which reads energy contracts, which exempts energy contracts entered into by a city or town or group of cities or towns or political subdivisions for energy or energy-related services. Provided, however, that within 15 days of signing a contract for energy or energy-related services, there is a filing with the Department of Public Utilities, Department of Public Energy, and the Inspector General as to the contract and the process that was used to procure the contract. Now, this exemption applies only to power purchase agreements, such as the one that is contemplated under this article.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank
Bowen.
you.
Does that answer your question?
Yes.
Okay. Any other questions from the board? All right. Would you make sure, Keith, that again, Matt, you got it. You got everything you need, Mrs. Smith. All right. I need to make sure that I just want to make sure everything's in their hands.
Okay. Before I went on, I've got a little bit. I just want to talk about net
You
metering.
got about 60 seconds. So
Okay. The take-home message for this,
because we're not here to make a decision. This is just to brief us on what the article is.
I understand.
The decision will be made by the folks on Monday or Tuesday.
Okay.
Okay.
But the big thing is that we get to offer 20 to 30% discount. We took a look at the town's expenses last year for energy.
You got everything you needed, right?
Yep, we got everything we needed. And we looked at last year's expenses, and we projected out for the life of this contract with some assumptions. We have to assume a rate of inflation. We put a 2.5% rate of inflation on energy, which is very conservative. I think it'll probably go up quicker than the rate of inflation. But giving that information, a 20% discount for last year's electrical expense would have saved the town $207,000 last year alone. Over the course of the next 25 years, making that assumption, assuming your energy consumption was the same as last year for the next 25 years, it'll probably go up too, but taking that assumption, it'll save $8,517,000 as would be the value over the life of the contract. So it's pretty significant. I won't go into net metering. We can leave the nuts and bolts of that to later, but that gives you a pretty good sense.
And just remember that, when you go before town meeting, remember we're in a big auditorium there. Any screens you have, make sure that any important points are big, right?
Yep.
So that it's not too cluttered, so that people can see what your point is, right?
And you only get 5 minutes.
Right. So thank you very much for all the work you've done, and I hope that we've been able to get you everything you need to give the folks the facts.
All right.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Next up, I think we have the Harbor Master.
Next up, we have, the Harbor Master, and this will be the last of the presentation on town meeting articles.
This is the Reader's Digest version. We'll make it real quick.
This is just to present the article, and if there answer any questions, please.
Good morning. Good morning. That's where it's at. No, not yet. Good evening. I've only got 3 articles to go through. Article 8, we'll make this real brief, is a transfer of funds from the Waterways account to the Harbor Master's Maintenance and Improvement account. This is going to be used to do a survey of the Onset Pier. The Onset Pier was renovated in 1987. The shelf life of steel sheathing around the pier is about 25 years from what the contractors are telling us. We are seeing significant deterioration. We're seeing settling in the asphalt. The stairways leading to the public access areas are deteriorating. Our docks are in bad condition. We need to take this step to get the survey done to find out where we actually stand with the structural integrity of the Onset Pier. Once that's done, we can then proceed with funding sources and trying to get revenues from other agencies to cover the costs of possibly having to fix the pier. They could come back, say the pier's in great condition, and we can move on with other projects.
Okay.
Nutshell.
Number 9.
Number 9 is a transfer of funds from the Harbor Service Permits Receipts Reserved for Appropriations account. That's monies generated through the Harbor Service Permits, the stickers that the boaters buy. The money is set aside to offset costs associated with our department. The things that we will be trying to upgrade this year will be help us with the bylaw that will be approaching Article 25. But we're going to look in a breakdown to purchase a vessel that does not need engine power to maneuver, to be able to pull moorings, a flat deck barge, mooring barge. This will help us organize mooring fields, remove offenders. Shellfish aquaculture, we can do shellfish relays from the barge. The barge could basically be used year-round for us. And this was the most cost-effective way to go without having to purchase a workboat where we'd have to rig it with electronics and motors and all of the other fun stuff that we have to put into the boats. And it cut the cost down probably more than half of what the boat that we would need to do this would have cost. We're going to be... One of the line items that was removed out of our budget last year was the dockage for the patrol boats. So I will be paying for the dockage through the Harbor Service Permit funds. We have 125 navigational aids that we install, remove, maintain. It's expensive. We have moorings, we have chain, we're looking at about almost $300 to $400 per setup that we have out in the water right now. Plus we're enhancing areas with more. So that will cover costs of damaged ones, chain, and the associated equipment. Safety equipment will be another purchase. Upgrading older life jackets, medical kits, tow lines, rescue equipment for patrol boats and the vehicles. The next will be a navigational equipment upgrade to the picture of the boat that's right there. It was purchased in 2002. It still has the original electronics on it. The radar system is black and white. The GPS is black and white. We've upgraded through some smaller units on it, but we will look for a system that is completely all-inclusive, that can be interfaced with other current navigational aids, such as FLIR thermal imaging, camera systems. It basically is a TV screen that we use it's our eyes on the waterways, so we're going to be replacing that. I'm also going to be updating a 14-foot skiff that we have in our possession with a newer motor, trailer, and just the basic equipment that's used for our water sampling. We use it all winter long. Ponds, rescues, pretty much everything. And the final item is patrol boat maintenance. Throughout the year, with doing stuff, the boats do get damaged. They get gel coat damage, engine repairs, things of that nature. And I feel that we can cover the costs with this funding rather than having to wipe out our budget on it. That's number 9. Going to 25. 25 is a little lengthy, but it's actually not too bad. What we're doing is we're rewording the first 2 portions of the waterways bylaw. I have books if anybody wants, I'll give later. And basically what we're doing is the bylaws have been in place since 1998. We've seen what works, we've seen what doesn't work, we've seen what's outdated. We need to change it so we're up to date and we're current with the practices that we need to oversee with. This gives us a little more teeth in how permits are handled, such as late fees, people abusing the system, derelict systems that are out there. It gives you a little more description of what shall be required to have an anchor. If you can read through it, I don't want to go through it in length tonight because obviously we don't have a lot of time. But for the most part, it basically just streamlines the mooring process. It streamlines the application process. Some of the more significant changes that we're going to be facing is obviously we're going to be requiring all boats that are not on a mooring by December 1st will be required to have a winter stick, which is significant. This also cuts down the wear and tear of people's gear that's out there, and that preserves them a little longer than they normally do if they leave this stuff out there. There's a fee. If it's not out by a certain time, we will put a ball on it, and we are going to charge you. And we're going to keep it up to date and keep it into code here. The billing process originally was after July 1st, we'd have to mail you a certified letter, and then we could put the late fee on. I've requested that be changed to on July 1st, we will do the late fee. August 1st, we will do the demand letter. You have 10 days to reply to the demand letter, and then we will be removing your mooring. Once the mooring is removed, if you wish to retrieve it, you have till September 1st to write to us, to address us in writing. A $125 fee will be attached to your mooring fee. The late fee will also be, and you will have to contract a provider to reinstall your mooring. And unfortunately, it's expensive, but I have 400 people sitting on a waiting list that would be more than happy to have those locations.
It is what it is,
It
right?
is. So,
any questions, Mr. Title?
I briefly skimmed it. It is rather technical, and I guess if you're not familiar with boats, you're not going to be able to make much sense of it. But the changes, as I understand them, do provide for better moorings, safer moorings.
It does.
And certainly a better process that you can use to manage the mooring fields. So
excellent.
Yes. Mr. Slavin.
Gary, thank you for updating everything.
Mrs. Winslow. Mrs. Begley.
Just a couple quick questions. Does this, because I haven't really gone through it line by line, does this address people who have moorings that don't have boats on them?
yes, at some point we do have to go over the issues of we cannot do anything with people that don't have a boat on it. As long as the boat is actively registered or they have a boat, they can put something on it or claim a boat. There's nothing stating they have to use it. We do have a provision that states if it's listed as a mooring only, they're allowed 2 years, and then they either use it or lose it. They have to make that decision. But we gave them the original bylaw, which I felt was fair, was you come at times where you just can't put your boat out that year, and you get a 2-year grace period. So there's something that's already in place in the bylaw that was not changed, and I believe that's going to be in Section 2B, the next section that needs to be upgraded for next fall's town meeting. I did this process the same way they did the process for the original bylaw that went through. The Sections 2 and 2A went through the first round of the fall town meeting, and the following year, Section 2B did go through. So that would be addressed in the next section of bylaws.
And those that own it and rent it?
Can't do it.
I know you can't do it, but it doesn't mean it's not done.
Gotta catch them.
Okay.
Okay, thank you very much. Mr. Smith, do you have all their stuff? Because it looks like he has handouts.
Just in case, I came prepared.
Good work.
Thank you.
Jamie, did you just come not to even say hello, or?
I just wanted to say hi.
Okay.
We've been keeping the poor man up all night.
All right, Peter has agreed to move that to Monday.
Okay. All right, so we are going to postpone our discussion on the creation of Beach and Tourism Committee so we can move on to voting on the town meeting articles.
There you go.
We have 33 of them. Do I have everybody's full undivided attention?
What's up, Keith? Yeah, you just have to read that right there, the list that they give us.
I didn't get that list.
You know, you go right down the list.
Can I have yours? See, I told you we share because we care. I move favorable action on Article 1, budget amendments.
I have a second? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Abstain? 5-0-0.
I move favorable action on Article 2, 2013 capital plan.
Do I have a second? I have a second. Anything on the question? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Abstain? 4-0-1.
I move favorable action on Article 3, funding the capital plan. You're good.
I have a motion made.
Number 3.
I have a second.
Second.
I have a second. On the question, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Abstain? 4-0-1.
I move favorable action on Article 4, police transfer.
I have a motion made in second on the question. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Abstain? 5-0-0.
I move favorable action on Article 5, additional state educational aid, Chapter 70.
Second. Anything on the question? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? 5-0-0.
On Article 6, Mr. Sullivan, did we get a figure?
The McKinney-Vento, they had estimated 125,000, but they did not get that. DESI has not come back with a certified number.
It's not a certified number.
No, that's my understanding.
On the question, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Abstained?
Aye.
3 abstentions, Mr. Titlebaum?
No, I voted aye.
Okay.
Favorable action.
2-0-3.
Article 7, the high school gymnasium. Oh, I move favorable action on Article 7, the high school gymnasium roof.
Second on the question, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Abstained? 4-1-0. Right? Yeah. 4-1-0.
I move favorable action on Article 8, transfer to Harbor Master's maintenance improvement account.
Have a motion made in second on the question. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Abstained? 5-0-0.
I move favorable action on Article 9, transfer to Harbor Master's maintenance improvement account.
Motion made in second on the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Abstained? 5-0-0.
I move favorable action on Article 10, cardiac monitors / defibrillators.
A motion made in second on the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Abstained? 5-0-0.
I move favorable action on Article 11, transfer to Harbors Beaches maintenance account.
All in anything on the question? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Abstained? You abstain? Did you say you abstain or you opposed? Abstain. 4-0-1.
I move favorable action on Article 12, transfer to signed materials account.
Motion made in second on the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? 5-0-0.
I move favorable action on Article 13, transfer to line painting account.
Motion made and second on the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? 500.
I move favorable action on Article 14, recycling committee, add $3,000.
Motion made and second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Abstained? 410.
I move favorable action on Article 15, FY 2012 unpaid bills.
Motion made and second on the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Abstained? 500.
I move favorable action on Article 16, purchasing wind power.
Motion made and second on the question. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Abstained?
Aye.
203. You had 3 abstentions?
Yes.
203.
I move favorable action on Article 17, solar credit purchase agreements.
Motion made and second. All on the question. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Abstained?
Aye.
302.
I move favorable action on Article 18, solar lease at the wastewater plant.
Motion made and second. On the question. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
No.
Abstained? 311.
I move favorable action on Article 19, CPC fund transfers.
Motion made and second. On the question. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Abstained? 500.
I move favorable action on Article 20, CPC preservation and restoration of Old Town offices.
Motion made and second on the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? 500.
I move favorable action on Article 21, CPC rescind Article 49 from spring 2010 town meeting.
Motion made and second on the question. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Abstained? 500.
I move favorable action on Article 22, tax increment financing agreement 1.
Motion made and second on the question. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Abstained?
Aye.
302.
I move favorable action on Article 23, tax increment financing agreement 1A.
Motion made and second on the question. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Abstained?
Aye.
302.
I move favorable action on Article 24, transfer of Hammond School.
Motion made and second on the question. All in favor? All opposed? Abstained?
Aye.
005.
I move favorable action on Article 25, amend waterways bylaw.
Motion made and second on the question. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Abstained? 500.
I move favorable action on Article 26, repeal provisions of special acts of 1994.
Motion made and second on the question. All in favor? Opposed? Abstained?
Aye.
Abstained?
Me too.
203.
I move favorable action on Article 27, extend dog bylaw study committee.
Motion made and second. On the question. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Abstained?
Aye.
You had to do that after I already wrote a 5. And it's late too.
Doggy bylaw.
Yeah, woof to you.
Dog. 401. I apologize.
I move favorable action on Article 28, election of SOAR commissioners.
Motion made and second on the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained?
Aye.
302.
3 in favor?
3 in favor.
Okay.
Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yes.
I move favorable action on Article 29, the hiring of 4 seasonal laborers.
Motion made and second on the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained?
Aye.
Abstained? Opposed?
2.
Opposed? 3, 2, 0.
I move favorable action on Article 30, hiring of arborist.
Motion made and second on the question. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Abstained? 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 0.
Thanks for sticking by me, buddy.
Yeah, I'm half bloody deaf, and so if you don't chirp them out loud enough, I'm missing some of them. I think.
Sometimes I'm just forgetting that
Okay,
I'm
let's
even
keep
here.
going.
I move favorable
We're
action
almost
on
there.
Article 31, amend zoning bylaws.
Motion made and second on the question. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Abstain.
That would be me.
3, 1, 1. Next.
Oh, I move favorable action on Article 32, petition Oakdale / Cromeset betterment fee.
Motion made and second on the question. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Abstain.
Aye.
3, 0, 2. You abstained?
No.
No. Oh, you did? 2, 0, 3.
203.
That's right. Yeah. 2, 0, 3. You voted aye, Mr.
Yes, I did.
Okay.
I move favorable action on Article 33, report of the Board of Selectmen regarding Westfield project.
Motion made and second on the question. I will send that report out Thursday. Thursday.
That
And we
answers
can
that
discuss
question.
it again on Monday internally amongst the board. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Abstained? 5, 0, 0.
I'm going to put this list right in the
Uh,
yellow envelope.
Yes, please. Madam Moderator, we will have these done by the end of the week. Is that okay for the handouts? One of the reasons, it's a little different this year, one of the reasons is it was, of my opinion anyway, that the board should at least hear most of these before we vote on them. And we tried to have 5 people in the room when we did it, which is a big change. Next year, we may be proposing that we can do some joint meetings with the Finance Committee and hear them all at the same time, so the 2 boards will just have joint meetings and do them all at once and make life easier. Mr. Titlebaum has agreed to move
1 second.
his beach and tourism discussion until Monday.
Mr. Chair, can I make a motion to go beyond the hour of 10?
Second.
Yes, ma'am.
How much past the hour 10?
15 minutes, Mrs.
Thank you.
Yeah, we
Winslow.
don't have much. Okay. So we're going to move the tourism to Monday. Sorry, Peter.
That's all right.
Can we vote
Unless
on?
you want to do it in less
No.
than 15.
It's
I
fine.
think you want more time than that.
Do-
Okay, next up.
Do we need to vote on that, Mr. Chair?
No.
To go beyond the hour 10?
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. On the question, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, abstained, 5, 0, 0. And I was talking about the tourism, moving it to Monday.
Next up, item H, discussion of town council.
Yeah. What is this?
Out the win- from the
Recently, as you know, we received a letter from Mr. Bowen's firm, former firm. There was some discussion as to whether or not he could even serve on the as town council. We instructed Mr. Sullivan to reach out and get a determining reading or opinion. Mr. Sullivan, do you have that opinion?
I can pull that up. I'd emailed it to the board. If you give me 1 second.
We did receive an email, but I think you should,
Read it into the record.
you could address it publicly, please. Is it in the packet, Alan? Huh?
It's just going to take me a minute to pull it up.
Oh, okay. Well, it's important that the citizens don't always see all those emails flying around. I thought they would have printed that out, the opinion. I thought that was a letter. I don't see it in this packet, though. It's all right. We'll give them a second to pull it up. Just don't take 15 minutes, because then the meeting will be over.
Well, while we're waiting.
While he's doing that, you got it?
There's two parts to it. The first one I'll read is the Chapter 30B question that we had on there.
Yeah, go right ahead.
Regarding Procurement Act and legal services. Dear Mr. Sullivan, this is in response to the Board of Selectmen's request for an opinion regarding the applicability of Massachusetts General Laws Chapter 30B, known as the Procurement Act, to the contracting of legal services for the town of Wareham. Section 1 of Chapter 30B provides, Section 1, application of chapter. Section A, Part A, this chapter shall apply to every contract for the procurement of supplies, services, or real property and for disposing of supplies or real property by a governmental body as defined herein. This chapter shall not apply to contracts with labor relations representatives, lawyers, or certified public accountants. This statute specifically exempts contracts with lawyers from the requirements of the Procurement Act. Therefore, the town is not required to request bids from attorneys in order to secure legal services. Please let me know if you or the board have any other questions regarding this. And if you have any discussions, it's just going to take me a second to pull up the other one.
Is there any commentary from the board on that issue?
Mr. Chairman, I think that settles the 30B issue in terms of whether we need to follow the procurement law. Obviously, legal services are exempted from that, so we can go ahead and make our decision.
Mr. Sullivan, you ready?
Dear Chairman Holmes, as requested by the Board of Selectmen, I have reviewed the fee proposal for town council services that the firm Blattman, Bobrowski, and Mead LLC presented to the town of Wareham, as well as a September 10, 2012 letter from Blattman, Bobrowski, and Mead LLC, copies of which are attached. After reviewing these documents, it is my opinion that the town has not entered into a contract with Blattman, Bobrowski, and Mead LLC or with Richard Bowen, Esquire. Rather, it is an engagement between the town and Blattman, Bobrowski, and Mead LLC, which can be terminated by either party with appropriate notice. By its September 10th letter, Blattman, Bobrowski, and Mead LLC has notified the town that it and Richard Bowen are separating. This letter serves as the notification required by the Massachusetts Board of Bar Overseers to clients of a firm when such a separation occurs. The purpose of this letter is to allow the client to choose between the firm or the attorney who is separating from the firm. Blattman, Bobrowski, and Mead LLC states that it is agreed to allow the town to choose Attorney Bowen to represent the town since he has been providing that service. However, the letter from Blattman, Bobrowski, and Mead LLC appears to go further when it states that the town may choose to continue with Attorney Bowen or have the services transferred to another counsel. This indicates that Blattman, Bobrowski, and Mead LLC is no longer interested in providing town council services to the town of Wareham. Therefore, the choice before the Board of Selectmen is whether to continue to utilize the services of Richard Bowen or seek new town council. Until that decision is made, Blattman, Bobrowski, and Mead LLC will continue to provide those services. I hope this answers the questions raised by the Board of Selectmen. He will not be on the October 2nd meeting, so I don't think that.
Thank you. Any questions from the board? Mr. Titlebaum?
Well, it is what it is. Clearly, we don't have to stay with Blattman, Bobrowski, and Mead. Clearly, they are happy to not stay with us. And so I think the question for tonight becomes, what do we do about the town council position going forward? I will move, and I would hope to get a second for discussion anyway, that we engage the services of Attorney Bowen in accordance with a contract of like nature with the last one that was actually executed, which I believe was from 2011. I can't believe that the firm was held over for a year without a written agreement to memorialize that, but that's the position we find ourselves in now. I don't see any need to put this out to bid at the present time. We can worry about that in the spring. There's been a suggestion made in the past that we might want to look into creating a full-time town council position and a town department to perform this work, which I think is a laudable idea. However, it's something that has to be done by town meeting, and it can't be done by fiat by this board. So those are my thoughts on the matter. So I have a motion to engage Attorney Bowen at the same rate of compensation that we were paying to Blattman, Borowski, and Mead, which was $15,000 a month.
I'll second that.
I have a motion made and seconded for discussion. Mr. Slavin? Mrs. Winslow?
Mr. Chairman, I have to express my deep disappointment in my colleagues. In a time when we're facing serious financial difficulties, without even taking a look at what else could be offered to us and at what prices, I think that's extremely unfair to the citizens of this community. We didn't do our due diligence this past spring, and now we're going to not do our due diligence now. But yet we want to talk about making cuts, and we want to talk about depriving services to the citizens. I simply can't support that. That's all I have to say.
Mrs. Begg?
I find myself in a position of agreeing with Mrs. Winslow. I think that we are in a position now to ask Attorney Bowen if he and his colleagues can offer us a better deal. We are already facing, we have had nothing but doom and gloom from our financial analyst. We are anticipating an FY14 shortfall. We're also anticipating FY15 and 16 shortfalls. For us to just say, okay, it is what it is, and let's just sign on the dotted line without express negotiating the price down is irresponsible in this fiscal economy. We've had practically all-out war in this town about stuff that the school needs and debt exclusions, and we have arguments whether or not the gym roof needs to be repaired, and we're just going to sign on the dotted line and say, okay, it is what it is. I absolutely cannot go forward with this, and I think that we should certainly try to negotiate the terms of the contract in a downward fashion for how much that it's costing this town today.
Well, I would suggest then that per the town charter, we negotiate legal contracts typically in March, if I remember correctly. Mr. Slavin can certainly correct me on that. February. We're talking, what? And I believe the date of separation would be the 23rd. So we're talking substantially November, December, and January, and then in February we roll into a new cycle here. I don't see that the savings here are of such a magnitude, and I also don't believe we have the time to do this, because as of the 23rd, we're going to be sitting in a town meeting without counsel. So,
Mr. Chairman, if I might respond to that.
Mrs. Winslow?
Mr. Teitelbaum, if you're willing to amend your motion that this board will, at the beginning of the year, put out an RFQ advertised in the paper that goes everywhere to seek quotes for legal counsel, then that would change my position. What I'm not going to engage in any longer is simply voting yes for the sake of voting yes and going forward. Everything in this community needs to be looked at and scrutinized and determined if it's the best value for the tax-paying dollar at this point. everything,
Yeah,
because
that's a fair point.
we can't continue to say deficit, 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 can't do this, can't do that, got to do this, got to do that, can't pay for this, and then just
That's a fair point.
everything has got to be looked at. So if the rest of the board is willing to agree that we will, in fact, go out for an RFQ and allow ourselves ample time for responses and truly review them, then you might be able to sway me. But I want to know that that's the road we're going down, that this isn't something we're just going to vote away in the spring.
What was the impression you were under?
What?
What was the impression you were under?
What impression?
Well, you said that would change your mind. I'm not
Because
sure.
my impression was...
Did you think he meant permanent?
Well, no, I didn't know what he meant, but what I know is that when this topic came up in the spring, and I said that I wanted to go out for an RFQ because I felt that we need to do our due diligence, then I ended up in a 4-1 vote. So I don't
Well, it
want
has to be
for...
done in March, so you have to get that stuff done in time.
Right, but that's where we ended up last time, in February, discussing it, and I want to know that this is something we are going to commit to doing. I can't support it otherwise.
Mrs. Begley.
Mr. Chair, I understand what Selectman Titlebaum said about us getting or contemplating council in March. This is a change now. This is a change now. It's not March. So we are not obligated to contract until March 1st. We can certainly go on a month-to-month basis or extend this contract with Attorney Bowen and negotiate now with him, because it may seem insignificant to be saving maybe $10,000 to you, but I don't think it's insignificant to this community. So I think by just saying, okay, we're good to go, I want to see, personally, I want to see the contract. I want to see what we're getting for the money. I've been told that it's going to be a seamless transition and it's not going to be any different. Well, we're not going to have the same attorneys. So I want to see what the contract is. I am not prepared to say, let's just go forward and let's just do this and put a rubber stamp on it. I am unwilling to do so. And if we can save this town $5,000 to $10,000, then I'm all for any kind of saving that we can find. We have people that are absolutely arguing over $5,000 to $10,000 now with such a tight budget. So I personally feel that we can negotiate.
Mr. Slavin.
The reason we need to do this, in my opinion, is simply we have someone who is taking care of the town for a long period of time. We have town meeting. We have a couple months. We are supposed to, it's our responsibility by charter to go and review. Actually, it states that we're supposed to look for a local attorney if at all possible. There's a whole process. This is not an agreement that we're going to just rubber stamp and continue. It's up to this committee to put together a time frame of when they want to start to look at this. This is simply to put something in place to get us through a short period. The idea of making all these statements up and down, it's all politics. The bottom line right now is we have an attorney that we have to put in place. We have town meeting. You have 3 months to figure it all out and have something ready before February. If the Board of Selectmen in prior years has not done that, shame on them. It won't happen this time. Thank you.
Anybody else?
Well, just to clarify, what does Selectman Titlebaum's motion entail? Is this?
I was going to ask him to restate it in more detail because Mrs. Winslow said something and he said something.
Only because is this going to be in effect until, for example, March 1st of 2013? I mean, what does this entail? February 28th. Or February 28th?
It has to follow the charter.
Well, I'm sorry. It was
No, we
Mr.
do.
Titlebaum's motion.
No, well, Selectman Slavin's right, and I'll confess to not knowing the charter deadline. So,
The Board of Selectmen selects town council annually in March of each year.
so then presumably the contract runs from April 1st through March 31st? Is that?
However they judge the month.
I
Well,
believe
we don't have to have a
it's-
date certain if we reference the charter deadline, so we can probably proceed along those lines.
I think we do it.
If you want me to restate the motion,
Yeah, but I think that the issue that we ran into last year was we didn't discuss it till the first meeting in March, and we had already passed the deadline to, yeah. So, January, yeah. December.
so if I understand you,
Whatever it is, we have an existing contract that, to be honest, it's budgeted. But go ahead, Mr. Tyler.
well, if I understand you correctly, Selectman Winslow, what you're looking for is essentially something in the motion that requires us to revisit this
Well,
issue.
Pete, excuse me. If you're making a motion, make the motion.
No, but I want to make sure, before I make the motion, I want to make sure that I'm making one that is
All right.
going to work.
You have to withdraw the first motion and the
I
second.
will,
Yeah, would
I
you
will,
with-
but I'm just
hang
making,
on, would
just
you
making
withdraw
sure you
your
have the right
second?
language here.
For discussion. Did you second? Well, who
No.
seconded it, Alan? Would you withdraw that?
Yeah, I will draw my motion.
Do you want me
Now
to
would
make the
you-
motion?
No, I can make the motion. I move that we appoint Richard Bowen to serve as town council until the expiration of the deadline set by the town charter for the annual renewal or procurement of town's council services at the current rate of compensation of $15,000 per month, and further, that this board agree to meet no later than the last scheduled meeting in January to review its options going forward for legal counsel.
I'll second.
Motion made and seconded. Question.
For discussion, I'd rather see us by sometime around Christmas start to put this together as far as going forward for the next year. You have too many holiday stuff goes on after that.
Yeah.
We put in effect, we start to put something in place. If we put it in place in late January, you're going to be up on top of things before you know it.
Right.
It's going to take a couple months.
I would agree with that. I would really like to see the RFQ ready by the end of the year.
I think the last time we'll meet before the new year will be, Mr. Sullivan, if I could ask you to lean back just a tad.
So the motion
Thanks.
would be no later than the last scheduled meeting of December?
To have an approved RFQ to be distributed through that. There's a book that goes out to everybody. Yeah.
Okay.
See, Mr. Slavin's smiling. He understands.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, anything else on this question?
Do we have a second?
Second.
But you had, did you,
We're having discussion, we had a second.
yeah. He has to amend his,
Sorry,
Alan.
Mr. Chair. Mr. Allen's,
Remove your second. Now make the motion.
That's right, we changed the vote.
No later than the
Okay,
last meeting
I move that
of
we
December.
appoint Richard Bowen Esquire to serve as town council going forward from the present date through such time in March as the charter requires us to retain or obtain new council, and further that this body shall meet no later than the last scheduled Board of Selectmen meeting in December for the purposes of discussing an RFQ for the procurement of legal services, and further that the compensation be affixed at $15,000 per month.
second,
We got there.
with no
I have a
discussion.
Motion made and seconded. Any questions? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Abstain? 5-0-0.
Motion to adjourn.
We got a TA report.
1 second. 1 second. Mr. Sullivan.
10:20.
Well, you got to wait a second. Mr. Sullivan, would you send a letter to Mr. Bowen covering that motion that was just made so that he can sign off on his acceptance or denial in writing, please? Mr. Bowen.
Very quickly, Mr. Chairman, I want to thank the members of the board for the vote. I will work very hard to try to retain your confidence. I know you know it, but the members of the public do not. I will be working with attorney John Witten and his firm covering land use matters, so this isn't some personal paycheck of $15,000 a month to yours truly. I've been pleased to bring the legal budget down from over $400,000 a year to below $200,000 for municipal and litigation services. And I just will add that although at any time over the last 2 years I could have charged for litigation under the current engagement letter, I have never done so, knowing that that would have added to your costs considerably. And I will maintain that for as long as I can. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. So, Mr. Sullivan, could you get that out ASAP for us? Thank you. Okay.
Motion to adjourn.
I have a motion to adjourn.
Oh, I know.
All
It's
in
been so
favor?
much fun.
All in favor? All
No.
opposed? Abstain? Have a great evening, and thank you very much for your cooperation.